Hey guys, and welcome to a new episode of the Toku Secrets podcast presented by AnimeSecrets.org. I am your host, Nathan Desa, who in this little series will be taking up the mantle of Shinken Silver. That's what I'm calling myself, and I'm sticking with it. Um, anyway, last time, guys, we gave you a little preview of what was to come, and today we're officially kicking it off. We've finished one journey with our little treasure hunt with the Gokaigers, and today we're starting a new journey, the journey of a samurai. And I am not taking this journey alone. I got plenty of people here to accompany me on this journey, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves to you real quick. So, the fellow Shinkingers in the room, state your name and whatever Shinkenger color you want to take on. Really doesn't matter. Go ahead, guys.
I guess I'll go first. Hi, I'm Rizwan Merchant, and I'm thinking black.
It's not a color.
All right.
Hi,
Y'all are bad at this.
You can take whatever color you want.
I'm a Patrick, and I'm taking red because Taku is my favorite Sentai character.
Cool.
Deal with.
All right, we got one more person. Where's our green samurai? Come on, Anthony.
He's hiding pretty well.
A musky green, Anthony Davis.
Gosh,
There we go. There we
That was
go.
Good job,
Like,
Anthony.
he was AWOL for 5 minutes
again,
and he
but like
comes
it
in
didn't work for some reason.
Cool.
Oh,
And
great.
yeah, guys, we got another person joining us with Patrick. This is his spoiler alert. The Sentai we're going to be talking about over these next couple of videos is his favorite Sentai. So
Yeah, they kind of blackmailed me
uh,
into doing this when they mentioned Shinkenger. So
It wasn't really blackmail. You wanted in, and you knew
yeah,
it.
I did. I blackmailed my.
Yeah, don't
before
hide
we get
behind this hiding crap. You didn't hide.
before we get started, we're going to be brief rant section. Patrick, I don't know if you know this, but we have a brief section where we talk about some news of Tokusatsu called the randomly assorted news of Tokusatsu, Ranot, as I call it.
I love the abbreviation.
It's so great.
It-
I used to.
it's creative.
It is.
The only big piece we already talked about the stuff with the scans of Dawn Brothers and everything in the last video. So the only big thing that's come out is that Power Rangers Dino Fury has been nominated for a media reward from for the GLAAD, which is the Gay and Lesbian Alliance Against Defamation. Long story short, they're basically a media company that likes to promote LGBT rights, and they've nominated Dino Fury due to them including an LGBT character, Izzy, the Green Ranger. Since I think we said this when we did our little Dino Fury review, but Izzy is officially considered a lesbian because we see her dating a girl in one episode. So that's pretty cool. And for the record, Power Rangers has received a couple of awards. There's only one that's been somewhat ambitious. Both Steve Cardenas and Blake Foster actually received Best Leading Young Actor Award nominations for the Young Artist Awards for their appearances in the Mighty Morphin movie and the Turbo movie. Alex Hartman, who played Jaden in Samurai, was apparently nominated for a favorite TV actor on the Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards, I guess. And
For some reason.
the only big one was that Time Force got nominated previously for a sound editing Emmy. They were nominated for the most outstanding sound mix. Which, okay, I mean, Time Force does seem like a very Emmy-worthy show. I don't know why sound editing would be the thing, but it's whatever.
Hey, we'll take what we can get in this house. All right.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm pretty stoked for this. I'm pretty happy that Power Rangers is getting this type of recognition. It's we got to take our hat off to Power Rangers for giving this type of representation. It. I know one person who's probably really happy, and that's David Yost, who played Billy.
Oh,
After all the stuff that he went through during this time in
mm,
Mighty Morphin.
mm.
It was
It-
about freaking time.
yeah,
Yeah.
this feels like it's been a little bit long overdue, but I blame that mostly on
Yeah.
the ban holding them back. But because it's
Well-
Power Rangers has always been about, I guess, including, because every team has been very diverse throughout its entire history. So adding a LGBTQ member is fitting and justified, and I'm glad it's finally happening. On top of the fact
I know,
that Izzy's
Right.
the best character in Dino Fury to this point, and I think most people would agree with me on that.
Dude, Izzy must be protected at all
Yeah.
costs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm glad we're all in agreement here.
We're in agreement on this
Yeah.
one.
Oh yeah.
Like she has her moments, but like it doesn't deteriorate from her like at her being like a good character. So I will give you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, I mean, the only other time that I would say, and even then this was speculation, somebody once told me that they thought Kelsey from Lightspeed Rescue was a lesbian, but that's probably the closest thing we ever got to LGBT representation. So it's
I mean, I don't think we had enough hints to say that, though.
No. I mean, fan canon is one thing,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
I could believe it if she was.
But I mean, I could believe like Z or Sid were also, lesbian or whatever. Just like I could believe Kimberly or Kat because it's a story. It's whatever the producer and director decide to tell us
Mhm.
is the canon. And up until Dino Fury, we were never told.
Yeah, we were never given anything
Hey.
official. Yeah.
Right. So this is the first
Mhm.
time we're like, hey, idiots, FYI, this one likes girls. Just go with that. Do what you will with it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty
And
much.
I think the coolest part of it is that it's not any controversial thing. It's just by the way, in addition to being a badass Green Ranger, she's also interested in girls. Like it wasn't like a in your face type of thing, which I really like
Mhm.
because they're showing how normalized it can be and how easy it is to normalize it, which needs to happen.
I mean, even the episode where they
Exactly.
reveal that she's a lesbian, it's done in like a pretty clever way where Hobby thinks that she has a crush on this guy and he tries to set her up with the guy, but then at the end it turns out that she's actually interested in a girl. Like it's pretty clever, but they don't make it like a really big reveal
Mhm.
like oh my god, like this is like the greatest thing ever. They just play it pretty casually, and I think that's probably the best way anybody could ask for LGBT representation. Just don't try to portray it as being a big deal. Just show that it's normal, and we need to
Yeah.
treat it like that.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
That was about it for the news. Dino Fury is awesome, and I'm glad that it's getting this not really a prestigious, but still pretty awesome award nomination. Did you guys have anything else? Any news that you guys found?
Nothing that I saw this week, anyway.
Not this week, no.
Nah.
All right. All right. Well, with that said, we're gonna jump into the Sentai that we're gonna be looking over for the next couple of videos. Today, we're gonna be taking a look at the 33rd Super Sentai series, Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. We're gonna be taking a look at episodes 1 through 10. Although this is one of those Sentais where the episodes are actually given unique names. They're called acts in this case. There's a bunch of Sentai that did that. I think the first one to ever do it was Time Ranger. They called their episodes Case Files. In fact, I think I don't know. I don't know if they're doing it in Sentai anymore, but for a long time, like especially in like the early to mid 2000s, the only Sentais that actually just called them episodes were Gokaiger and Deca Ranger, I think. But that's just besides the point. A couple of facts about Shinkenger before we get started. Just jumping into these episodes. It aired Shinkenger from 2009 to 2010. It was adapted, albeit extremely poorly, into Power Ranger Samurai and Power Ranger Super Samurai. Even though that,
For our full opinions on that, watch our previous video.
yeah.
We
The head.
saved you the headache, Patrick.
Hmm?
We saved you the headache of talking about Samurai.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've already stated my opinions on Samurai and what went wrong in the writing many times before, so I don't need to repeat myself again. But
Pretty
I mean,
much.
I
talked a
can
lot
when
about
we get to the review series because we'll have full context by then. But I'll save that for another time.
Mm-hmm.
The head writer of Shinkenger is Yasuko Kobayashi, who even at the point of even at the point where Shinkenger was airing, was a pretty experienced head writer. She previously was the head writer of Gingaman and Time Ranger, and she also, prior to this series, was the head writer of Kamen Rider Ryuki and Dino. And she would go on to do, and after Shinkenger, she would go on to be the head writer of Kamen Rider O's. This one web series, Amazons. That wasn't like one that actually aired on Japanese television. I hear it was just a web series. And Go Busters and Tokuger. That's a pretty impressive resume. I'm not a really big fan of Tokuger, but and I haven't seen Dino or Amazon, but I'm a big fan of Gingaman and Time Ranger.
Yeah,
So,
I haven't gotten to Time Ranger myself, but the last Sentai I finished watching from beginning to end was Gingaman. And now that you mention it, it does make a lot of sense because that season and the one we're about to start covering is very good at character development. Very good characterization, very good and they don't leave any members of the team behind in terms of writing like some seasons usually do. So it really does make a lot of sense, and I'm actually kind of excited for Time Ranger now that I know this.
the only other thing, this Sentai is the only Sentai to feature a samurai motif. And the other big thing is that in 2019, or maybe it was earlier than that, with the Heisei era coming to an end in Japan and the Reiwa era beginning, there were actually Super Sentai fans in Japan that were polled to see what their favorite Sentai was in the Heisei era, and Shinkenger won. Like, it was voted number one. And for the record, the top 10 was Shinkenger. Number 2 was Lupin Ranger versus Pat Ranger. Number 3 was Gao Ranger. Really? 4 was Tokuger. Seriously? Tokuger was in the top 5? Number 5 was Gokaiger. Why would you put Tokuger before Gokaiger?
That's surprising.
Seriously.
That's surprisingly low for Gokaiger, actually.
That is surprising.
6 was Hurricaneger. 7 was Deca Ranger. 8 was Time Ranger. 9 was Kaku Ranger. And 10 was Go-Go 5.
Yay, Kaku!
I think Tokuger being high is kind of interesting because I don't think it's very popular here in the United States, but I guess Super Sentai fans in Japan have different opinions.
Yeah, about to say, but we weren't polled, were we?
Exactly. So with that being said, we're going to start with talking about episodes 1 through 10. I'm going to be giving, as per usual, we'll be using the, we'll be going through our format where each of us talk about an episode until we get to number 10. I'm going to be kicking off with the first episode, which is called The Gallant Appearance of the Five Samurai. So this Sentai actually features a narrator that often explains stuff to us instead of it just being kind of exposited by the characters. So the episode begins. We're told about the something known as a crevice, which like any gap between things in the world is a connection between our world and a different world called the Sanzu River. And one of the children, a child that's playing with his friends, gets attacked by the foot soldiers for this season, called the Nanashi Rinsu, or just Nanashi for short. The narrator tells us this. And as he's being attacked, he gets saved by our mentor for this character, for this season, Hikoma Kusakabe. They just call him G for short. That's what we'll just call him for this series. And we get this pretty badass introduction where we meet one of our main characters, Takeru Shiba, who transforms into Shinken Red, and he has his battle with the Nanashi. And this is one of those Sentai that starts off where instead of just playing the opening sequence, they play the theme song over the opening battle, which is awesome. And just to make a brief pause, the Shinkenger theme song is awesome. Like, I would.
Well,
it's in my top 2.
Well, Psychic Lover is cheating. I mean, what song have they done that isn't good? They've done songs sprinkled throughout Rider, Sentai, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's just constantly good stuff. But yeah, it's probably my favorite Sentai intro, personally.
Yeah, they also did the theme song for Deca Ranger. I think they did the closing theme song for Bokenger.
Bokenger, yeah.
I could be wrong, but yeah, that's pretty awesome. So anyway, after that battle, Takeru meets with G, and we basically learned that since the Nanashi are appearing, that means that we're getting that the world is going to be invaded by demons from the Sanzu River called the Gedoshu. And that probably means that their leader, their overlord, Shimatsuri Dokoku, is going to revive. So they need to recruit Takeru's 4 vassals to become Shinkengers and help them. But Takeru doesn't want that to happen. After this, we're introduced to pretty much our main villains in the Sanzu River. They all live in this ship that's floating in the Sanzu River. The main villain is Shimatsuri Dokoku, who he's just the leader. Doesn't really do much early on except just drink sake. It was called, and that it was pretty pathetic how they tried to cover that up in Samurai. They called it medicine for his headache. Like, seriously. The other villains are what was that?
I think what they did with what was his name, Xandrid in Samurai, was meant to be a joking homage to Rita.
Yeah, pretty bad.
Yeah.
And the other 2 villains are Dayu. She's she's the female villain, and no, I'm not talking about the Power Rangers villain. That's actually her name here in Shinkenger 2. She plays her shamisen. She plays music for Dokoku, and then we have I guess you could say kind of like the villain that he's like he carries a staff and is kind of like a wise man for the villains. His name is Shitari. He was Octoroo in Samurai, and they prepare to send their generals. They're called Ayakashi to attack the human world. Then after that, we get introduced to our 4 vassals, all of whom we'll find out a little bit more in the later episode. But long story short, all 4 of these people have been raised their entire lives. Some a little bit more extreme than others, as we'll find out through the series, to be samurai, and waiting for the moment where they might have to become Shinkengers and fight with Takeru. These 4 people include an aspiring kabuki actor, Ryunosuke Ikanami. This young woman who's basically just a helper at a local kindergarten, Mako Shiraishi. A young slacker who doesn't really like to train and just mostly loves to play video games, Chiaki Tani. And a young farm girl, Kotaha Hanaori. And the thing is that all 5 of these samurai, they carry around these small little symbols. They're called origami. They have the kanji symbols for their elements. So Takeru has fire, Ryunosuke water, Mako heaven, Chiaki wood, and Kotoha earth. These are like their symbols that indicate their samurai position, and it's been passed down from parent to child. G prepares to send a message to the other vassals, and it's during this time that we see a brief flashback of Takeru getting the Shinken red symbol from his father. His father's literally on fire and has arrows coming out of him. Because, this is a kid's show, so that's totally appropriate.
Dark.
Yeah. G shoots these arrows to each of them, just with the message to gather. Takeru is given 4 sotophones. The sotophones are what they use to transform, and and I'll explain how these things work in a second. All 4 vassals come together. Takeru meets up with them and gives them each a sotophone, although first he asks if they accept their duties as samurai. They all come together to fight the Ayakashi, and they use the sotophones. And the way that the sotophones work is that they're cell phones, but they have a little extendable brush on the end, and they use the brush to activate what's called their mojikara, where they simply draw kanji symbols with the sotophones, and then their mojikara will bring those symbols to life. So, like, for example, Takeru draws the symbol for horse. His mojikara brings a horse to life for him to do it. And in this case, they draw their kanji symbols for their elements to become Shinkenger. So Takeru becomes Shinken red, Ryunosuke is Shinken blue, Mako is Shinken pink, Chiaki is Shinken green, and Kotoha is Shinken yellow. And together, they are Samurai Sentai Shinkenger. And we're going to, in a brief pause here before we continue, want to briefly talk about the Shinkenger suits. And of course, you guys should give your opinions too. But just to start off, I'm going to be honest. When I first saw these suits, now keep in mind, I first saw these suits when Shinkenger was airing, so I was, I didn't really know what to think. They looked a little too different with the helmets, but looking back all these years later, I would say that these suits are probably in my top 5. Like, I think that I think that the kanji symbols translate well on the helmet, and I think the big thing that does it for me is the black Y on their chest. It really makes the suit look like a samurai robe or a kimono. Yeah. That's the thing that really does it for me. So
yeah,
I was turned off by them at first because they look different, but that was way back. Nowadays, they're probably some of my favorite.
Yeah.
Like, what do you guys think?
They fit the motif pretty well. I mean, because Sentai, it's been a problem that they haven't had recently, but a lot of the older seasons, sometimes the suits don't really mesh well with the concept. Like, that's always like the biggest jab that people have with the Zoo Ranger suits. What's up with the diamond pattern on the on the chest? It doesn't have anything to do with the theme. But
Yeah.
but with the suits actually looking like samurai robes with the, like you said, the Y shape on them, it's just aesthetically pleasing to look at. Like, there's nothing like offsetting like Toryuju's one shoulder pad that drove everybody crazy for that whole year.
That was bad.
No,
Yeah.
that still bothers me to this day. By the way, but yeah, they're just simple, clean to the point, and they fit. So not much more I can say about that.
And definitely, and the black matches the like blends the black pants matches well with the aesthetic altogether.
Yeah. What do you think of it, Riz? The suits.
I have no problems with the suits. I thought they're, they look samurai-esque, and I enjoy the way they look. I have no complaints about them. They're fine suits.
Yeah, I don't think I can complain about these suits too much.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing egregious about them that makes me want to yell, "No, stop! This is bad." Like they're good.
Mhm. Okay. Well, so we get our typical first battle with the Shinkengers after this. Couple of things to talk about with the Shinkengers. So they have their standard weapons, like with every Sentai, and of course, because this is a samurai themed series, they are katana weapons. They're called the Shinkenmaru. And in the Shinkenger's belt buckles, they're able to deploy what's essentially the gimmick for this season, the secret disc. Um, Now, whenever they do their pose, they always put on the standard black um, hidden discs, and when those discs are, and all the discs when they're attached to the handle can spin to give the Shinkimarus different abilities. When the standard black ones are spun, they transform into the Shinkinger's individual weapons. Takeru gets this giant bladed weapon called the Reika Daizanto. Ryunosuke gets this energy bow called the Water Arrow. Mako gets the Heaven Fan, a fan weapon. Chiaki gets the Wood Spear, and Kotoha gets this three-pronged boomerang called the Land Slicer. And all of these weapons are powered by by each Shinkenger special hidden disc, which goes with their origami, which we'll get to in a second. And briefly, later on, we actually find out that when the personal discs, so like the fire, water, heaven, blah, 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 get attached to the Shinkimaru, each Shinkenger can perform their own personal slash attack, like, fire slash for Takeru, water for Ryunosuke, etc. So now that we have that out of the way, basically to cut the rest of this story short, Takeru defeats the Ayakashi with his Reika Daizanto. The growing method for the Ghetto Shoe is that they all come with a second life that allows them to revive and become bigger every time they're defeated. The Shinkengers then reveal that the symbols that they carry have their animal form called origami, and they're able to use their Mojikara to make them bigger. So the origami are basically their mechs for the season. Takeru has the shishi, or lion, origami. Ryunosuke has the ryu, or dragon, origami. Mako, the turtle. Chiaki, bear. And Kotoha, ape. Funnily enough, we actually don't see the debut of the main mech in this. They actually just defeat the monster with their individual mechs. Watch me know, correction. Takeru defeats the Ghetto Shoe with his mech, because as we'll find out, Takeru is pretty powerful in this season by himself.
Mm-hmm.
the Shinkengers have their own little victory phrase that they say at the end of every battle called, "That brings this chapter to a conclusion," which sounds so much better than Samurai Ranger. Yeah, which is so much better than Samurai Ranger's "Victory is Ours," by the way. And the episode ends with all the Shinkengers coming back to Takeru's Shiba house, and the narrator tells us, that we have, this is the beginning of the battle, and done. So, this episode, I think, just to break the ice, since I was leading on this episode, I think this episode was pretty good. The most important thing for a debut episode, in my opinion, is to establish the what every character is like. This episode does a really good job at giving us some of the ideas. Like, I can definitely tell that Takeru is a little bit more of a, kind of a loner, serious Red Ranger. I think it does a good job at establishing Ryunosuke and Kotoha's characters. Pretty okay with Chiaki and Mako. We'll go into more details with who these characters are later, but I'd say that this episode is pretty solid for a first episode. And I definitely appreciate it a lot more since I've seen a lot of really bad opening episodes.
Yeah.
But what do you guys think?
Yeah.
Go ahead, give your 2 cents.
Bouncing off that last thing you just said, this is one. It's always something I thought Power Rangers has done better than Super Sentai. Is first episodes for Sentai seasons are usually hilariously rushed, and for Sentai to do all of this, set up lore, set up power, set up everything in essentially 22 minutes, and it being paced well, it's an accomplishment at this point. Because many Sentai seasons just flop on this. So to get off on a good paced episode like this while still not leaving us out to dry it's good. It really is. Because I'm glad that they skipped the whole mecha transformation in the first episode too. That always bothers me when they do that in the first episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with showing mechs in the first episode, but maybe try to mix it up and have them just defeat the monster with just the individual mechs first, and then debut the main combination mech later.
Because it's always an elongated combination sequence, and that just adds a lot of unnecessary dead air time to the first episode when it doesn't really have time for it. So.
What about you, Rizwan?
So I will say for episode 1, act 1, it's a fine pilot to the season. Definitely interested in the world they're creating. The characters in episode 1 are interesting. There's a lot of things I'd like to know more about them. So at the end of episode 1, when I watched it, so as a reminder to those that don't remember from Gokaiser, I mentioned a few times that I had never seen Shinkenger until now. And up until this recording, I've stopped myself from watching beyond episode 10. Just so that when I do give an opinion, I'm giving it from the perspective of somebody brand new who's never seen any of this and probably doesn't really know how it'll go. And while I know exactly how Samurai goes, I'm trying to keep that out of my opinion here. Just because it's not fair to compare the heaping garbage that was Samurai to Shinkenger.
Right.
So I will say that episode 1's a great pilot to kind of get us into the world, understand better what's happening, kind of get us our feet wet, if you may. The characters are interesting. I will say that, dear God, at the end of episode 1, I could not stand Blue. His personality grated on me quite a bit.
His little kneeling at the end was a little too much.
It was he
Yeah.
just he felt like an exact copy of Samurai Blue to me, and I couldn't deal with how much of a copy. I know, like, Shinkenger is directly copied into Ranger, but holy crap. Why did they give Power Rangers this inspiration to have that kind of character in there? So
Yeah.
because they really gave Ryunosuke a very agitating and annoying personality right out the gate, and unfortunately that translates bad to America. So that was a mistake on their part, I think. Um, I
Indeed.
have I have some thoughts on Takeru, but I'm gonna hold off until we get to a later episode where I can do a better job illustrating my thoughts on him.
You sure? I mean, the next
Well, this-
episode, you know.
I mean, right now I will say that Takeru. I understand his deal with I want to be a loner because I don't trust the other houses. I get that. Um, but the way he acted a bit here, he acts like an asshole, and not in a fun asshole way like other Reds have been in the past. He's more aggressive about it, and I'm not sure how I feel about him right now, but I will
Yeah.
delve more into Red as we go through this review.
and then the fireworks will start pretty soon between you.
Well,
Look.
if Riz is watching through Shinkenger for the first time, I think I can kind of see why you feel the way you do, because Shinkenger is in a way his story.
Yeah.
So
And
how you feel about
you know,
him now is going to change drastically as we go. So
yeah, and I have a feeling I know how it's gonna change as we go through Beyond 10.
mhm,
Just because I've seen Samurai and I know the big thing that happens
mhm,
3/4 of the way through the series. I know that's spoiler for the most part.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
I just right now Takeru has a lot of things that I'm not a fan of, to put it lightly. But I think I can better explain why when we get to episode 5.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, Nate, let's move on.
Yep. We're going to move on to Act 2, the stylish combination. I'm going to let Rizwan take the reins for this one. So take it away, Riz.
Right, yeah, this is my episode. Hey guys. Okay, so Act 2, the stylish combination. This is a mainly team-centric episode where we get more team bonding between the different Shinkenzers. And episode opens with the narrator man giving a history of the battles that happened hundreds of years ago with the Gedosu and the Shinkenzers. And he explains that Shinken Red is the lord of the houses, and the other Shinkenzers in the team are his vassals. And they explain that this bond is very sacred because a lord is nothing without the vassals, and the vassals are nothing without a lord, basically. So they give a lot of the background of where this culture came from, and I believe it's around this point that they also start to mention that up until now, the concept of a Sentai based off of these 5 was not a thing. Before now, the families had samurai that came out to fight, but now they have Sentai, Super Sentai members taking up the helm from the families itself. So this is kind of the debut in the family generations of a Super Sentai to combat Gedosu. Is it, am I saying that right? I never actually knew.
Yeah, you're saying it right.
Okay, thanks. I feel weird when I say a new Japanese word, and if I don't want to say it wrong and sound like a total idiot. I'm okay with sounding like a partial idiot.
Oh man, you're good.
Okay,
No, you're doing good.
so when we fast forward to the present, the Shinkenzer are training to learn their Mojikara, and everyone's doing well because they've been all training for this since they were born, basically. Except Chiaki. My man Chiaki doesn't know the correct stroke order to do the kanji. And he has a great deal of trouble getting that stroke order correct. And if you don't get the stroke order correct, you can't perform the magic or the spell or the technique. It just will not happen for you. And also in the training, we see the differences in the different team members. And the way that we see them is we have Ryunosuke, sorry, who is very by the book, very just groveling loyal to the Lord Red. Like anything he does is in the interest of Red. It's to serve Red. It's to, you know, help the family the best they can. And he does it in such a way that's so annoying, like throughout the entire thing. But then we have
It is.
others like Chiaki. Chiaki grew up with this custom and tradition, but he didn't really pay a lot of mind to tradition and other stuff. He wanted to play video games. I mean, look, he's like us. He's a bro. He just wants to hang out with his friends, play some video games, and just be a normal,
Eat some good food.
eat some good food and be a teenager, dude. That's all he wanted. But as we've seen in episode 1, when duty calls, you must answer no matter what you're doing. So Chiaki is having a hard time having his two worlds collide. Where in one world he's a normal, everyday, average teenager, but in the other world, Chiaki is very much so a vassal to Lord Red, and he can't bring these two worlds together in his mind because in one world it doesn't make sense for him to say Takaru is his lord and that Takaru is this great thing that you can't say anything against. Like the others treat him kind of like a god, but Chiaki sees it more like he's not our god. He's just another guy, but he has a higher title than we do. And I'll definitely help him, but I'm not going to call him Lord. Screw that. It doesn't make sense to me. And so Takaru tells him, "You'll be fired if you don't take your samurai duty seriously." He doesn't care about, the Lord titles and all that. He just wants to make sure that the people that he's working with are taking the duties as serious as he is. The issue is Takaru takes his duties too seriously, in my opinion, and to the point where he starts to alienate Chiaki from the others. Like he doesn't try to team build. He doesn't try to get to know them. He's more focused on being this high and mighty lord and sitting up on top, away from the others in meetings, and you know, ruling. He acts like a miniature lord of a kingdom of 5 people, 6 if you count his caretaker. I forget his name right now. It's slipped my memory, but
Just
um,
call him G.
Z. Thank you. I couldn't remember if that was only in America because I wanted to say Master Z, but I was like, nah, man, that's America.
And
But
they
okay,
call him G in Shinkenger
Actually,
too.
was
So
actually
it's
was it was Mentor G in Samurai, but he calls him G in this one.
okay, but they're still both named Z. Titles don't matter. God dang it, I'm Siaki on the inside. Don't you get it yet?
oh man.
Basically.
The only Lord here is Riz Lord. All right.
Oh lord.
Oh, great.
Yes, you called my son.
Oh my god, I walked right into that. Jesus.
Yes.
Okay. Get off your high horse already.
Wow. Now you sound like Siaki too. I like it.
I'm not calling you my lord. Just FYI.
I'm okay with that as long as you pull your weight.
Jeez. Where did this ego come from?
Oh, I don't like the way you said that.
So, meanwhile, while this is all going on, in the Sanzi River, Dokaku reveals that the Gidusu want to overflow the Sanzu River to flood the human world to make it more habitable for their people to live and rule over. But to do so, they must cause a fear and despair in the human world, meaning they got to send monsters to the world to make people cry and scream and feel hopeless and sad and depressed and all the other feelings that are out there. And this will, as the humans despair and feel this agony, the Sanzu River will slowly grow and rise in size and it'll overflow out. So they use Ayakashi to do this. So they release him to go do his bidding, and we slip back over to the Siba household, and Kotaha has vanished. And so Ryo, Nosuku, Chiaki, and Mako go out looking for her. And again, Ryu is going to take the role of a samurai very seriously because his parents were really serious on him to do so. And he gave up his dream to be a kabuki actor, at least temporarily, to become a samurai to uphold the family vows that they made ages ago, basically. We also see that Siaki, like I mentioned, is very much more laid back. His parents were not as interested in the samurai lifestyle, but they still did what they could while doing all that. Um, and Mako wants to get married and have a family, but she had to abandon her dream to go become a samurai. And they're talking about all these different dreams they had before they became samurai with Takeru, and they kind of resolved that this is until they can defeat the enemy, then they can go back to their dreams of getting married, going back to the arts, and I guess for Chiaki going back to being a gamer boy, which is great. We also find out what I think is one of the more fascinating stories of the four Kotahas. C was not supposed to be the vassal to Red. It was her older sister, but her older sister was extremely sick and couldn't take on the mantle, and her sister Kotaha did it instead. And C is trying her level best to be Senken Yellow, but she's struggling, so she has snuck off to go train with her little wooden sword to try and improve her technique the best she can to be a better service to Takaru and the work they're doing here. And so back in Siba household, the Sinkensers get notified via the crevice sensors that the house has created to tell them when Zedusu entered a human world. And this is the first time the team will really come together as a team after being together for a little bit to take on the Zedusu. And I gotta say that those scenes were kind of they were a bit more than I expected for when I figured out they wanted to cause despair and stuff. They were legitimately making these people depressed and like if this was made like this year or last year, I feel like there'd be a lot of calls to request for trigger warnings to be added before the episode begins because they were pretty intense stuff going on with the citizens of the town wanting to go towards like suicidal thoughts and depressive things. And I mean, I'm not affected by it as much, but I just have to imagine if it was made like a more recent time, we'd have those concerns raised a lot more. So just kind of know that those topics do crop up a little bit here. They're not overt, but they do happen for like a good minute and a half or 2 minutes at least. Um, and during the battle that ensues between the Sinkensers and the Zedusu, um, the four vassals are hurt, and Kotaha is actually really hurt. And Takaru tells everyone abandon her because she's too weak to carry on, and not worth the help because they have bigger things to deal with. And this really annoys the others. Even Ryu stands up to him. He's like, "No, we can't leave her because we can't. She's one of us, and we're not going to abandon our friends here." And that makes them doubt Takaru. And is it really worth fighting for him? And as they're kind of discussing this on the side while Takaru keeps fighting, they see that Takaru has saved a girl from the Ayakasi, and they realize that they can't just be nice people. They have to have some strength, like how Takaru is showing here, in order to protect the people of the citizenry. And this inspires the others to re-engage the enemy and continue fighting. So at this point, the Ayakasi gets big, given his second life because Shinkenger kicked his ass, and they use their origami to form Samurai Gatai. Shinken! Oh! Even though Ryunosuke failed at his own Gatai, where 4 vassal origamis are stacked together, they had trouble fighting.
Hilarious.
It was great to see them fail to make their Shinken O the first time. That's a prop because you don't see that often with a Sentai. They just automatically know how to do it, and they shouldn't. There has to be some
Yeah.
practice put into it. So I'm glad they had that bit of humanity here for them.
Yeah.
That's how you handle the debut of a mech really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
All hail
episode
the
ends.
origami tower.
So
Shinkenger was
episode
pretty cool looking, by the way.
it is. I like it. So real quick, episode ends with them kicking the monster's ass as is expected with the new mech, and the Shinkencers apologize to Takaru. Though Chiaki is still very much against how Takaru handled the situation, and um, he says, yeah, even though Kotoha could have handled it, what you did as the Lord was not right here, and that's kind of where the episode ends. And my thoughts here are, I love these 4 vassals quite a bit in their own different ways. Ryu's annoying. All right, I'm not gonna say he's an amazing character, but I like his spirit, at the very least. I don't find him grating to the point of, like, I wanna scream at him. I understand why he's like that, so I don't have a personal axe to grind with him as, like, I would with other characters, like his counterpart in the American version of this, because that guy was just awful.
Oh.
Yeah.
There is no redeeming quality of the blue counterpart.
See, the reason why Ryosuke works over Kevin is because Ryosuke is mostly played as a joke. Well,
Yeah.
Kevin is played very straight-faced, so
yeah, like he's too boring. He's like, oh, we gotta fight.
oh yeah,
Samurai!
his actor is so hammy.
His acting is so bad. But I think part of why
Oh my god.
Ryunosuke did so well here, better than Kevin at the very least, is because we see him first as a kabuki dancer. So we know he has life in him, and we know he's, fun and he can be cool.
Mhm.
But he was just ingrained by his family to take this thing way more seriously than anything else, and it really shows here because he's doing all this out of family duty. So a lot of that Japanese honor comes into this quite a bit. And like I said, Kotoha to me has a really awesome backstory with being the unchosen sister that has to take on the mantle because her actual sister that was going to be the one can't do it anymore. So I enjoyed that quite a bit. I also liked hearing more about Mako and Chiaki and just what they were wanting to do with life and where they are right now. I think Chiaki at this point is the best character as of episode 2 because I 100% agree with him about Takaru right now. Takaru right now to me is complete garbage. I'm sorry, Patrick.
Well, I mean, at the start of the season, he is kind of meant to be interpreted that way. So
Yeah.
I don't
So
fault you
I
for
mean,
thinking that.
you
Hell,
what?
even I
I
would
don't
say,
fault
like when I
you for
first
thinking
watched
that.
the show, I was like not a fan of his
Yeah.
at first.
Yeah, I mean, he could do a lot better. I mean, my issue with Tucker is I get he has this duty to uphold and he has to, play the part of the Lord because that's what tradition dictates, but you have to make a connection with the people you're working with. I know you have to maintain the look of lordliness to people outside your house, but dude, this is basically your family at this point. Like they are here because of family obligation to your family. There's no need to add this extra layer here. It just it seems like he's just doing it to be difficult.
Oh, I want to say something so bad, but that'd be spoilers. I am holding myself back so hard right now
I don't blame you, man. I don't blame you.
because I get what you're coming with, but some of these problems are probably going to be resolved as we go. So I'm going to enjoy hearing you explain your feelings about him as we go through this. I'm actually looking forward to it.
So, by the way, Patrick, if you haven't figured it out yet, Patrick, this is the fireworks that we were alluding to in the beginning.
Yeah, but I 100% understand it. So,
Okay,
okay.
that's what the guys were not certain about if you would understand it or not.
Because when you said that this was the first time you've actually sat down watching Shinkenger through, on your own, okay, I'll wait until we get to the end before we start having problems with one another. If we even have any by the time we get there.
We'll see, because I know the spoiler that's gonna come,
Yeah,
but
but you
the
have to actually
journey we
experience
go
it first.
through,
Yeah, it
the journey you go
it
through to get there, that's the important thing to me
yeah,
right now.
and it makes a big difference. Trust me. So
Like you missed my rant to these guys, but dude, I was completely trash talking this dude in our group DM in a way that I can't even discuss on here because, well, I could because I'm the owner, but I wouldn't because I also have honor.
Yeah, he was going in, man.
I could not stand him. He
He,
was my favorite term to use on him right now is he's hot garbage.
God, I love that phrase.
I mean, look, dude, he's complete garbage.
Hmm.
To me, he was just not a good red at this point. He has no interest in being a team player. He has no interest in saving his team. He's only duty bound to play this role, and even the way, okay, to me as a first time viewer, I know this is probably not how it's supposed to look, but even when he was rescuing that person when they're fighting the kid, it felt like he wasn't doing it because it was the right thing to do. He was doing it because, well, my duty tells me I have to do it, so I'm going to do it, but I don't really want to, like that's the vibe I got about him, and that's where I'm coming from right now. Is that
Yeah,
even the thing that saving a little girl, it didn't feel genuine from him. And
yeah.
that's where my struggle is right now is that he doesn't have the genuine care that I would expect from a red.
Yeah, he.
Because the parallel I drew, Patrick, and you may not think this is a fair parallel to draw, but the other red I think of when I think of a hard ass, hard headed guy who doesn't care is Marvelous from Gokaiser. Marvelous made it. Marvelous said quite a few times, "This is not my world. Why should I care? I'm only here for my treasure." But he says that, but then at the same time, he very much so protects the people more times than we can count. And he doesn't outwardly say he likes the people or the planet, but every
Mhm.
action he takes throughout those episodes of Gokaiser, everything's guided towards the greatest treasure in the universe, but also protecting the people from the Zanyak. And you can tell, even from like episode 1, that he's not some prick. He's just playing the role of a prick because that's the pirate way. But here, this guy's he's trying to be showing the samurai way, but you don't get that sense of, I want to do this because it's the right thing to do. I'm doing it because it's duty bound. And that's the opposite of what Marvelous is to me.
Mhm.
So I don't know if it's a fair parallel, but that's the one I'm drawing right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, Marvel's character doesn't
Well,
really
you could
develop
interpret it.
much more from that, to be honest.
Wait, what?
I say Marvelous' character doesn't really develop much further beyond that either.
Oh no, he doesn't. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
He's
that's truth be told, and I'm gonna upset a lot of people. That's why I don't like Go Kaiser very much. The cast does not change very much, and
I mean, they do things.
yeah,
I see
but
a lot of growth in them.
not to the extent where by the time you get to the end of the season, you look back at the early episodes, and you're like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm gonna give a quick spoiler here about something in the later episodes. You know how in the beginning I said I don't like Blue at all? By the time we get to episode 10, I actually like him a lot.
Yeah, he tones down
So
significantly.
so I see your point about the characters growing
Yes.
a lot. Because
Yes.
Blue went from complete
Yeah.
utter hot garbage as well
Oh,
to somebody I actually
Yeah.
respect now. I
Yeah.
don't like his personality
Just-
still, but I respect him.
yeah. Like I said,
And that's important is,
Yeah.
you have to be able to respect these guys at some point.
but from someone who's seen the series twice, it's kind of hard to explain it from my perspective because I know what happens, but it's it's mostly because trying he doesn't want them to get involved. That's all I really
Yeah.
that's all I really can say.
Yeah, and he says in the first episode he doesn't want them involved because he doesn't want more people hurt. And I
Yeah,
get that sentiment, but dude, you have these people that are here. They're
yeah.
part of your team now. You got to get past that initial "I don't want them here" attitude. You got to get past it at some point.
Yeah,
You can't just hold on to this forever, you know?
Yeah, and like I said, I can't really explain it without
Yeah,
jumping
I
ahead
get
like
that.
40 episodes. So it's difficult for me to explain my position here.
And see, hearing that without context, that bugs me that we have to wait that long to understand anything
well,
about this guy. You know, that
you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait that long, but it's around that point where everything comes together. So,
right, I get that. It just the way it sounds is that he doesn't show growth until the very end, and then you get all the growth at one time.
No.
Okay, good. So there's growth along the way. I'm okay with that.
He does start to loosen up over time, and then that's when the big revelation happens, and it all hits you at once. Like everything about him up to this point, it all just kind of clicks all at one time.
Yeah.
So, and it changes your perspective of the whole case. Because my first time watching through Shinkenger, I was like you. I was like, this dude is a big dickhead to be polite, and I was kind of like, why are you still listening to this dude? You'll jump in the way to take a hit like you're supposed to, because that's how the actual Japanese samurai terminology for them would be their shadows or something.
Yeah.
You know, the Lord and the retainers is that they're meant to make sure that the Lord doesn't die. And I'm sitting here like, well, why would you protect this guy when he doesn't seem like he wants to even acknowledge your existence? But yeah, again, just give it time.
Yeah. And then we said Anthony, Act 3, an extermination skill contest. Unless Nathan or Anthony want to add anything else on.
No, I had nothing to add.
Yeah. Okay.
All right,
So
then,
we're good then.
Anthony, on to you.
Alrighty. So, all right, Shocky Focus episode. Funny enough, this was actually the same episode that was adapted from Samurai and was actually the first episode to air on Nickelodeon. We're just like, what the crap? Like, this
Oh my god!
ain't even the first
Yeah.
episode.
Wait, they started
Yeah.
here?
Yeah, I forgot. They didn't.
Yes.
I forgot they didn't actually show the first 2 episodes until as the finale of the first half of the regular Samurai half.
Dude, that's so
Yes.
chaotic.
I don't get why
So-
they did that. It's right.
So if your introduction was Samurai and you wanted to like, okay, let's start from the first episode to the last, you'd be kind of confused as to like why are they already like a team already when we haven't even established how they all met.
How did they learn to morph? How did they learn to use the Zords? What the hell's going on
No,
here? I don't
no,
understand
why?
anything.
Why do I care?
Right.
You know,
Okay,
I recently spoke to the people at Nickelodeon that were responsible for that decision, and I asked them why they did it, and their only answer to me was, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
You know, the sad part. Sad part is, I don't know if you're being serious. That's the
That's the
I
sad
know
thing.
I know he's not being serious because, as Nathan has mentioned many times in the past on this podcast, if he ever has a chance to talk to Nickelodeon, it will not be PG.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Really,
So
Definitely not.
I know for a fact that Nathan has not talked to anyone at Nickelodeon. He's making a joke comment because
Yeah.
he has not told us how Nickelodeon just looked at him as he yelled right in the face, telling him how they're all incompetent people that don't deserve to have jobs that they had, and possibly cursing the ancestors in their graves for even producing this kind of trash. This is the kind of
if
comments
they
I'm
actually
expecting
said that
from
to me, would
Nathan.
you really be surprised?
What?
If they actually said cocaine's a hell of a drug to me, would you really be surprised that was
No.
an excuse?
No. Okay. Yes, only because the reaction I would expect from them after you talk to them would be call security.
Yeah.
That's the thing when you. That's the thing when you said that. I'm like, he could be being serious, and I believe it.
Right.
Anyway, go ahead.
So anyway, no, go ahead. So what I'm about to say was that this episode, Chiaki's late for practice. Again, Takeru and Ryunosuke criticize him for being, for not taking his training seriously. There was a point where Takeru claiming that like Chiaki is lacking in everything and is weakening the team. He's basically not putting his weight into the team, and he's like, hey, like you need to get your stuff together, man. Like you're lacking in Mojikara, you're lacking in your discrepancy. Like what's going on, man? And of course, Shaki's like very irritated about this. So he ditches his training to go play video games and play Tekken, of all things, with his friends. And his friends just curious, is like, where you been, man? Like you skip out on graduation, blah blah blah, and we haven't seen you in a while. And he's like, oh, like I'm in a different school now where I have to deal with all these crazy individuals and this one guy that gets on my nerves. And of course, the friends are like, "Oh, well, okay, that's something." And then the Monster of the Week shows up. This is the one that can like use his fists to like stretch out and punch things. Um, Shaki is already at the scene, so he immediately transforms and tries to fight the Gedoshu monster. But he was injured due to the monster's attack, and it got to the point where his friends ended up getting in the way, and they got injured themselves. And of course, Shaki is just feeling like all kinds of like guilt and upset because he got his friends hurt. and Takeru and warns him that he has to give up his friends to keep them from being, hurt. That's why in the episode, like first episode, he told them like, once you guys sit on this path, there's no going back, which means that you have to give up pretty much your normal lives just to be here, because this is not fun and games. This is no like walk in the park. We're fighting for our lives, and we can't injure our family and friends because of it. And so also Takeru ends up giving Chiaki basically like a challenge. Like, if you don't find a way to beat this monster and beat its abilities, hand over your shoulder phone and you're not going to be longer a Shinkenger anymore. And of course, that upsets Chiaki, so he ends up leaving. But surprisingly, he does end up thinking things over and basically like train by themselves. Like him and Takeru basically train in different ways to figure out how to beat this monster's abilities. And during the next attack, Shaki ends up uh, no Takeru and the others meet up with the Gedoshu, but Shaki intervenes and says, "Hey, this is my fight. I'm gonna stop him. You guys hold off against the Nashi Renju for me." And so he does this really cool solo morph engine sequence, and it goes off to fight the Gedoshu. And Takeru saves Shaki from a devastating blow, and the two of them defeat down the Akashi in his own way. But the interesting thing that happens is that like Shaki lures into a trap, like basically getting its arms like stuck and like underneath this underground, and is able to like to get his arms tangled up to the point where he can't move his arms. And so they defeat the first form. He grows. They form Shikino. They use this. They pretty much use the same technique that Takeru and Shaki were both trying to learn, and like catch it off guard without actually seeing it. They defeat the monster, and pretty much Chiaki has some more respect for Takeru now, and he vows he's gonna like do better and like train harder to basically surpass him. And that's the end of the episode. So what you guys think of it?
Yeah, this is basically the first filler episode, I guess you could say. I mean, I think I think that it's pretty standard, I guess. I'll let
Yeah.
Patrick say more about this, because Patrick I remember Patrick actually once saying something similar to this, that, the rivalry between Chiaki and Takeru is just like a pretty standard Sentai thing of like one guy wants to be better than the other. I think I remember you telling us that once, Patrick.
I actually referred to that when I was talking about Ninja when it first started. Because I had started picking up on every single year there was somebody that's like, I'm going to be better than you, Red. Okay, why do we need somebody like this? But I kind of like their dynamic a little bit differently than most of the other rivals, because some of the other ones it's just because, I think I'm the best, and if you think you're the best, I'm going to prove I'm the best. But with Chaka, it's like he wants to shut Takeru up. It's more of like it's a personal thing rather than an ego thing. So it's like a friendly kind of respectful rivalry instead of a narcissist rivalry. If that makes any sense compared to some of these others.
Yeah, it does.
Because go ahead, Anthony.
Oh, no, I didn't say anything. I was just saying, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, so that's all I can really say about it. It's nice that he finally got an episode, though. up to this point. But
What about
Right.
you, Riz?
I loved it. I thought Chiaki had some great development here as a character,
mhm.
and he further established why Takara is hot garbage. So it's great.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna eat these words one day, aren't I?
Yeah,
You are.
probably. But
That's going to be so
but honestly,
glorious.
that's the magic of this season. Honestly, so there's a reason why it's my favorite Sentai. Just it's gotta get there first though.
Loading.
Stuck at 99% for
Mhm.
3 hours. God dang it!
Yeah.
Anything else on episode 3, guys?
No, I'm good to move on to 4, I guess.
It's pretty simple, so there's really not much to go
I
over.
pretty yeah, it's a pretty straightforward episode. I do
Yeah.
feel for Chiaki though, because like him basically leaving his friends hanging because like he has no choice. It's either stay as a samurai away from your friends, or have your friends be in danger again, like before. So it's like you can't you can't win.
I mean, it did kind of show him why he needed to be there, which I think was something that he was needing motivation for. So,
Yeah.
because up to this point, Shake had just kind of been there because he had to be, and now he has a reason to stay. So,
Mhm.
baby steps.
Yeah.
So I'm briefly going to talk about episode 4. This is going to be like really short, sweet, and to the point. It's called Nightly Tears of Sympathy. It's a filler episode. It revolves around Ryunosuke and Mako. So to basically cut a long story short, Ryunosuke is feeling down because he feels secretly upset about having to give up his life as a kabuki actor. He starts to become all miserable, and that results in Mako being all affectionate and loving toward him. She makes him dinner, which is the beginning of a running gag that's going to be a thing for the rest of the show of her being a terrible cook. And yet, funnily enough, even though this running gag isn't used that much in it's used in almost every episode in Samurai. It's used only a handful of times in Shinkenger, and yet it's like 100 times funnier in Shinkenger than it is in Samurai.
Because you don't
Like,
turn the joke into the
Yeah.
ground.
yeah,
Is it because the
Right.
actors in Sinkers know how to act, and the actors in Samurai are
Well,
they can't?
because they use the jokes
Pretty
conservatively in
much.
Shinkenger.
Yeah.
yeah. But anyway, they meet this child who makes a deal with with the ghetto shoe of the day to give up his dream of being a baseball player so that his dead grandpa can get revived, which causes Ryunosuke to kind of confess himself to how he's feeling about Mako. But then because the ghetto shoe is a villain, he doesn't actually hold up his end of the bargain, and the kid gets hurt. Ryunosuke and Mako defeat the ghetto shoe to avenge him. Takeru shows a brief, nice moment where he uses Mojikar to create a vision of his grandpa to help, not his grandpa, the kid's grandpa, to get the kid to feel better and like go back to his dream of being a baseball player. And while that ends in Power Ranger Samurai, the Shinkenger episode decides to be a little bit more cruel. Ryunosuke thinks that Mako has a crush on him, so he's like, "Hey, Mako, blah blah blah," and she tells him that he's annoying and turns him down. And Chiaki and Kotoha is like, "Oh yeah, Mako only likes to go out with men that she can fix, and you're fixed now, so yeah, she's not into you, buddy," which is pretty funny.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
like, yeah, like, hey, Bako, like, let's hang out sometime. Nope. She's like, nope. I'm going with
I
you now.
I love
That was pretty
the
hilarious.
one thing I always love
Yeah.
about Mako season is she's not afraid to just tell you no. She's very blunt
Right.
to the point of comedic value like this. Just kidding.
She's like, you're annoying. She's like, you're annoying. Get away from me, please.
Lol, no.
Yeah, she's pretty blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not much else to say about this episode.
No.
It's pretty standard filler.
Yeah,
It's
just some filler. It's not much. Go ahead, Patrick.
It's just a fun, feel-good episode, mostly.
It is, and I like it a lot. But there's not much development, character story-wise. But I do like seeing the interactions of everyone together. It's great to kind of get a better idea of their dynamic.
Yeah, and this is one thing I do like about Shinkenger is that the filler episodes, while they don't, sometimes they won't always progress the plot or progress character arcs. They do have nice character moments which do add to everybody, and things like this, like Ryosuke and Mako's conversation on the bench. It doesn't really add much, but it is nice to get to know them a little bit more. It's not a completely useless episode. So Shinkenger's really good about doing that, by the way, of having something substantial in your filler episodes. At least I think so, anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's okay. It's just the only thing that got me though was that what made this kid think? Like the kid kind of got my nerves just a little bit because I'm just like, kid, like I would have been like, nah, like why would I trust some weird monster looking thing? But that's just me. I feel like I shouldn't be like, oh, Anthony, come on, he's just a kid. He didn't know any better. But it's kind of just like, I don't know. Like, maybe when I initially watched the episode, I didn't see think nothing of it. But like watching it as an adult, you're just like, kid, you clearly could have known this was a trap the whole time. But what? I don't know. Am I too harsh? Am I too harsh for that?
No, I think even a kid would know not to make a deal with some lion monster-looking thing.
I'm just the whole time just like, this kid's stupid. I'm sorry, like, and you jump off a freaking cliff of all things and hurt yourself. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, that was brilliant.
You know, the only other thing I want to say is that, like, you know, the Power Rangers episode honestly feels like the way that they censor the episode. It feels very similar to how they would censor the dub when they did the Yu-Gi-Oh series. Because, like, in this episode, the kid wants his grandpa because his grandpa died. In the Power Rangers episode, the kid wants to see his dad again because his dad lives far away because he's in the army, but his dad's not dead because remember, American audiences, death doesn't exist. Remember that.
No.
Death doesn't exist.
And if it does, we can't actually say death.
No, if death doesn't
destroy.
Exist. Death doesn't exist, but destroy does.
Yeah.
Boy.
It's like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, oh, I'm not going to kill you. I'm just going to send you to the Shadow Realm. Like, totally PG. Like,
hey, that was still a cool concept. I'm not gonna lie to you though.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. There's just something funny about.
But as an adult, you're kind of like, oh, well, they actually did die. So
yeah,
okay.
You lose a card game and then your brain just explodes. That's how Yu-Gi-Oh! Actually works.
pretty much, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna move on to episode 5, the Kabuto Origami. Go ahead, Patrick. This one's yours.
The first kind of what I like to call arsenal upgrade episodes, where the team gets something new. Ooh, fancy new toy for you to buy. $30. Have fun. The episode starts off with apparently they've been given a day off We're only 5 episodes in. You earned a day off. Well, you must have a good union. So they're discussing where they want to go. Mako wants to go to a movie, yada yada yada. Kotoha comes up with the idea of going to an amusement park, and the four of them are like, "Yeah, sick, let's do that." They ask Takaru if he wants to go, and no, he doesn't. So he goes into his room and opens up a box with an orange disc in it. While the others are out at the amusement park, Takaru is back home at the Shiba house, training with this orange Kabuto disc. Apparently, it was a hand down from his ancestors. There's many secret discs that they had, but this was the only one they had. I know I'm skipping ahead a little bit in the plot here. When the monster shows up while they're out at the amusement park, they engage in combat with him, and they can't hit him because is he like phasing or is he boogieing around their swords? I can't really tell. It's animated weird, but they can't hit him, to put it lightly, and so they get gunned down because this guy has a machine gun. Yeah, ancient demon fish machine gunner, only in Sentai. So when Takaru shows up, he also can't hit him. So he whips out the Rekadaizato and hesitates on using the disc because the disc, apparently when put on the Rekadaizato, gives him a new enhanced weapon. But he hesitates and the monster gets away. When they get back to the house, they go over the whole... There's a handful of secret discs that the Shiba clan had, but all of them except for the Kabuto disc were lost. And Takaru is trying to build up enough strength to use it because it needs a lot of Mojikara to use properly. So while the others are sleeping, he spends practically all night training it and injuring himself almost, because every time he tries to trigger the new upgrade, it blows up in his face, literally. Nice little tick here. This is one of the few nighttime scenes we get in this season. I wish Sentai would do more nighttime shots. They're usually pretty cool looking. So the morning comes, and the other four Shinkenjus encounter the monster of the week again. And again, they still can't hit him. G heads out to the courtyard where Tucker was practicing the night before, and he is Yamshud on the ground, pretty badly damaged. So G manages to get him up and gets him to head into the fight with the others, where I guess the fruits of his little training paid off, and he manages to transform his Rekadaizato into... I keep forgetting the exact name of this form. I know it has a name, but it's the big rail cannon that it has, where they are able to load all of their discs, and they finish him off that way. And the mecha fight in this episode actually has some importance, because it introduces the Kabuto origami, which gives Shinkano a new form. It's a new helmet, and it allows him to shoot fire. Oh, always nifty. And when they head back to the mansion, Takaru falls over and passes out because he had been working himself to the bone for the last day and a half or so. It's a pretty straightforward episode, honestly. It doesn't really delve into Takaru's character as much as it probably should. It mostly just shows his kind of stubborn resolve to enhance himself and the team, and shows that it does show a little bit of signs of him caring about the team, because when they get concerned of him getting gunned down before he whips out the new weapon, he kind of uses their encouragement as motivation to just get it done. So, simple episode, but it's the first time we've really had time to see Takaru, I guess, work on himself and how he goes about training in his own time. So, what do you guys have to add to this?
Oh, my opinion's gonna be so fun.
Yeah. Let me
I
hear
just
it.
want to say one thing before Riz goes into the depth of this episode. I don't really have much. I think Patrick. I think Patrick pretty much summed up the things that's good. I like how the auxiliary mechs work in this season because but prior to for the most part auxiliary mechs were usually especially in the early seasons it started mostly with Gal Ranger where the auxiliary mechs were usually just arm attachments like they did it in Gal Ranger and it was in Aba Ranger and Bokenger too.
Yeah.
I like how the auxiliary mechs are much bigger, and instead of them becoming arm attachments, instead they like split up into multiple components and kind of become like armor for the Megazord. Like they did it in a Geki Ranger first.
Yeah.
I like that. I like what they did in Geki Ranger, and I think they do it pretty good here too. Um, so I really like how the auxiliary mechs work with this season.
Mhm.
I just wanted to touch upon that really quick because what I just said is about to be drowned out completely about over what Rizwan is probably going to say. So
Hey now, hey now. It's not
Let
gonna
me
be
hear it.
that bad. Anthony, you want to add anything before I go on my rant?
Uh, just the fact that like this episode was actually like a really decent episode. And to answer your question, Patrick, I think what happened was that like this monster base can like be tangible when it comes to physical attacks. Like for
Yeah.
instance, if you attack with a
It's just
sword or your fist, it's gonna phase right through it.
yeah.
You have to
It's
hit
just
it with like a very energy based
yeah.
attack, or
Yeah.
it's not gonna work.
I guess it's just that the visual effect that they used on him, it made it look like he just kind of boogied out of the way.
Yeah,
You can't hit me, I jive too hard.
yeah,
All
pretty
right.
much.
Yeah, okay. Riz, you're up to
All right,
bat. Let me hear it.
okay. I honestly hated this episode quite a bit. Um, so from my perspective, this right here was the perfect time for Takaru to kind of. He didn't have to break out of his cell to become a nice, kind, benevolent leader to the Sinkensers, but clearly he had a slight interest in the amusement park.
Yes.
Like you could tell
I
he wanted to go.
love that
And
scene of he just teasing him about it in the flashback
yeah.
segment of him.
Oh, G and him are fantastic together.
Oh yeah, their dynamic is
Um,
amazing.
so in the positive column, I will say G and Takaru together, fantastic. I loved their relationship. I loved their chemistry. I loved their dynamics.
Yeah.
A plus, well done, good job.
Mhm.
But with that said, Takaru with the Sincancers continues to be hot trust. This is a golden opportunity for Takaru to do two things, and in both cases, he chose the wrong choice, in my opinion. The first thing he could have done better is try and acknowledge, okay, once again, here's an opportunity for me to get to know the people I'm a lord over, so I can better understand them and at least, pretend to form a bond with them and pretend like I like them, even if maybe I don't like them. Because at this point, I don't know if he actually likes them because he actually likes them, or does he like them because they're useful to him because of his lordliness, or it's hard to tell what he feels with his people.
I think that one scene very briefly when he was reaching for the Kabuto disc to put on the sword, when they called out for him when he was about to get shot, and it kind of like gave him the confidence to do it. That was meant to be a subtle nod that he cares about
I
that
mean,
that
it's
they
it's
do
subtle.
support him. I mean, subtlety works. You just gotta catch it.
Well, okay, so
It
it's
wasn't much,
fine.
I agree, but
Well, okay, so it's not even that. To me, it felt like the Sinkensers support him. That's a given. We know
yeah,
that 100%. Even Chiaki will support him at this stage in the game. but he doesn't reach out an olive branch of any kind to them. He, he may feel a sense of, yeah, my team's behind me and I'm going to do this thing that's really scary and different now, but he doesn't show anything beyond one look. And that bugged me quite a bit, that he didn't go to the amusement park. He preferred to solve the problem on his own, like as if he's the only one in the world that could have done this. He didn't need a team to help him figure it out. And he honestly, to me, felt like he was written like a Mary Sue character here, because he doesn't show any depth of connection with anyone except for Z, and that's only because he's known Z for what I imagine his entire life. So of course he's gonna have a decent relationship with that guy, but far be it for him to have any remote need to connect with anyone else and to be like, hey, so I have this disc, I'm trying to use it, but I can't do it alone. Let's at least let me at least tell you I'm doing this. He didn't even tell them. He just kind of went off and did it on his own, and then came back and was like, by the way, I have this thing now. And it just shows that he either he doesn't care, or he cares too much about them being involved. He's trying to minimize them and doing it all on his own. And if he is doing the latter, dude, grow the fuck up. You're a damn. You're the leader. You're the one who has to like put this team together. I know I cursed on air,
He
but
made Rick
whatever,
so
dude.
mad he ended up censoring himself.
Like, literally, this is his golden opportunity to do something, but instead he puts it all on himself. He acts like a Marisu, and he acts super OP with no bound, and that bugs me. Bugs me so much. Like, he has no
I
upper
think this
bound at this
episode way
point.
different than you do.
Well, it's because we have the perspective of hindsight, Anthony. This episode, you watch this episode differently when you know the end game stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
that's why you and I are probably sitting here like, I want to say something.
But
But
even when I first watched the episode, like when it first aired, I didn't feel like, oh, he's being a no
I mean,
doing it on his own. Blah, blah, blah.
even speaking of hindsight involved, I do feel like that they didn't do enough at this episode, because this is technically his first focused episode of the series, outside of the intro, of course, but the intro is everybody focused. And they didn't really capitalize on it as much as they probably could have.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
in hindsight, this episode is a little bit better, but on first time watch through, I feel like they could have done a little bit more to kind of tease at what was going on here, but
Because
they didn't really.
Yeah, because like I get what you're saying. I 100% get, like, he
Yeah,
had that look and he felt the support from them. I get all that.
yeah,
But it's so marginalized compared to what
yeah,
they could have done that
mhm,
it doesn't feel worth it. It feels like
yeah,
it feels the opposite to me. It feels like, oh, well, they're just trying to demonstrate this dude can take a new tech and master it on his own and has no need to even collaborate even a little bit with his so-called teammates. Like, he literally is at this point a Mary Sue to me, and
yeah.
he shouldn't be.
From the perspective of seeing it for the first time, I can understand why you would say this.
Yeah,
Because they haven't really established Takeru's character arc yet, for some reason. But yeah, even I think that they could have done a little bit more with this one. But
Yeah.
It is what it is.
One day, my son.
Yeah.
But until then, I will rest my case here and continue to say, Takeru is hot garbage.
And he means that because he's the fire Shinkenger.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wolf flaming.
Anyways, you get the next episode, Act 6, The Abusive King.
Ah, yes, the Abusive King. So, this will
You
be
had-
a...
You
What's that,
genuinely had a
Patrick?
a joke opportunity with the title of this episode and you didn't take it. I'm disappointed with the abusive king, just like Takeru.
I mean,
thought
I
you
thought
were
about
gonna-
it. I thought about it.
Oh, see, me and Riz understand each other like this, okay? We had the same joke in mind.
But see, I had tact.
He had
I
self
didn't want to.
control.
I didn't want to beat the dead horse over why Takeru is hot garbage.
I
Because he's
know,
just
but
hot garbage, you know.
oh,
But
man. I'm still disappointed that you didn't actually pull the trigger because I was like, the opportunity is right there. He didn't
dude,
take it.
I was so close. You could tell in my voice I was about to do it, right? Like I was
Yes,
that close,
I could hear it on the tip of your tongue.
but I held back. I didn't want to pull the trigger because I didn't want to start another round of ranting. So, like I was saying before, Patrick pointed out the joke I was wanting to make. This is a Kotaha-centric episode. The episode begins with Chiaki and Kotaha sparring, and Z and Takeru discussing that Chiaki is very much so outpaced by Kotaha, which is a great annoyance to him because, well, he should be better than this, but he's not. And Kotaha just makes a mess of everything because, well, okay, so Chiaki gets the injury and he's trying to recover from it, and Kotaha starts to feel bad and insults herself and keeps blaming herself for everything that happens. And we learn really quickly that Kotaha must be protected at all costs because she is pure and innocent and we don't deserve her. I actually love I love her character a lot, by the way.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, everybody who wanted to
Same.
sign up for the Kotaha Protection Squad said, "Aye."
I
Hi.
everyone signing up for the Takeru Protection Squad?
You're on
Exactly.
that ship alone, buddy.
Cape the KPS.
Yeah,
The KPS. All
Kotaha
right.
Protection Squad. Hashtag on every video review video of this series.
Hashtag all of that.
So Kotaha's in this like self-deprecating mode of just feeling bad for herself and calling herself stupid, and that makes Chiaki very angry because he's like, dude, you're not this idiot little girl. You're actually pretty damn good at what you're doing. Stop it. And she doesn't. So they have another Zedoso attack, and the Shinkanzers this time are faced with a Zedosu that will make humans despair by the Zedosu insulting them with their biggest insecurities, and when they get hit with that insecurity, to go flying back. In the battle, notably, the Zedosu calls Takeru a liar, which this line will have a much greater role in the episode 40 range of this season, I think. If I'm guessing correctly what's happening here. Um, Kotaha, however, when it comes to her insult, is completely 100% unaffected by the trick and doesn't even blink or flinch. And she reveals Yeah, dude, you can't insult me or make me feel my biggest insecurities. I do a really good job of doing it on my own. I don't need you doing it too. You're not doing a good job on insulting me because I do a much better job. And that right there broke my heart for her because
Same.
she's so pure and innocent, and we really don't deserve her.
No.
No, we don't.
KPS squad for life, right here. All right, like
We need T-shirts.
we need a THG cert as well.
Oh Lord.
Yes.
Why do I keep walking into that? Dang it!
Do I need to put a post-it note on your monitor saying "Don't say that word"?
Yeah, I'm gonna put that every time we do a review from now on. What's wrong with me?
The funny part is,
You
Patrick.
played yourself.
The funniest part is, this isn't the first episode where we do this with Nathan. I've done this before, and he never learns.
Oh.
It is fantastic.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on you again.
Fool me 3 times, and God, you're just stupid.
Exactly.
Fool me 3 times, just stop. Please, I can't take it anymore.
Exactly. So afterwards, Chiaki tells off Kotaha for calling herself brainless and stupid and unvaluable and just insulting her, whatever else. He can't stand it. And Kotaha runs off insane, and we go to a flashback. And the flashback will add further fuel to the KPS here, because it's revealed that Kotaha was always bullied and put down by other people, but her greatest comforts come from her sister when she played a flute to cheer her up before she became sick with whatever ailment she has. And this gave Kotaha the courage to be strong for her sister enough to go become a samurai. And this is the full reason why she does what she does, is because she doesn't want her sister to feel the pain of being a samurai when she's that ill, and she wants her to be happy and good to go. So she became the Shinkenger because of that. Later on, Chiaki finds her and apologizes for lasting out, saying, "Hey, look, I also have insecurities because I lost to you, and I'm trying to beat Taku because he's hot garbage and doesn't deserve to be read, and I can't do it because he's really good hot garbage at fighting." Kotaha gives him support, saying that he'll get stronger one day and to overtake the hot garbage that is Takaru. I'm going to overplay this, by the way, a little bit.
But
So, in the next fight with the Zedutsu, Kotaha is attacked again and briefly kind of feels the twins of, oof, you're just a fill-in for your sister, you're not a real Shinkenger. But she's able to defeat him by plugging his mouth with rocks before the Shinkengers use the new bazooka they have to defeat him. And then they defeat his second life with the Kabuto Shinken O. And as the episode ends, Kotaha collapses from the exhaustion of doing all that because she had to resist the damage of the monster, and everyone's kind of complimenting her, except for Takaru, about how strong she is. And Takaru just kind of there being hot garbage because, again, he can't connect to anyone. And Mako kind of asked him on the side, like, "So why'd they call you a liar when you were fighting earlier?" And he just kind of waves it away like it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Spoilers, it's a big deal. I just don't know how yet, but for right now, it means he's hot garbage. And that's where the episode ends. Any thoughts from y'all?
So
I have some stuff to say about this, but I
bad.
want to. Sorry about that, Anthony.
No, you're good. What I was about to say was that like I really felt bad for Kotan this episode. Like that girl's been through a lot. Like a
Dude,
lot.
the KPS must be founded. I need
Being told that
t-shirts and
like
badges.
yeah, like it's almost like she basically was told like her whole life that she just is not a good person. Like I'm like she was worthless and she's this, that, and the other. I'm like, wow. Like
Yeah.
why would you say that to this poor innocent girl? Like
Dude, it's
no,
brutal.
that's not cool.
Yeah, I got a lot to
And then the
say
fact that
about
like
this.
she had to like take her to the spot. That's also like heartbreaking because like she had to take over her sister. Like you imagine you're like a preteen and you're basically like taking over your sister's spot and just saving the world because she got sick. That's can't be easy.
There is
You're
some
good. Yeah,
stuff
go ahead.
I want to say about this, but I actually at the end of this review, when we talk about just going over the characters in general, I don't want to spoil anything I'm going to be saying about Kotoha at the end. It's all good stuff, by the way, but yeah, this episode does kind of hit a little, not now, but it hit very close to home in a very different way at the time when I watched this, which was around the time when it was airing. I have a lot to say about it, but I don't want to spoil what I'm going to be saying at the end of this review. So I I like the episode, and it yeah, and Kotoha is awesome. Um, but yeah, I really wanna hold back a lot of what I have to say about this episode until the end when I
Yeah.
talk about Kotoha. So I'm gonna withhold what I want to say.
Yep.
Go ahead, Patrick.
Yeah, they really really wanted you to like her the most out of these five in the early episodes, didn't they? Because you can't. I mean, especially seeing who the target demographic or the people who usually flock to IPs like Super Sentai and stuff. The history they usually have. This episode is uncomfortably relatable because being on the back end of bullying really does kill your self confidence for a long time. And yeah, it's nice for us to see her kind of step up, you know, get some confidence under herself like this after being unfairly knocked over again. But, I mean, she's the one you cheer for. No matter what she does, she's not wrong. You can't change my mind on this. So yeah,
Did you?
it's straightforward, huh?
Oh no, nothing. Did Riz want to add anything or?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to be taking up the next episode, episode 7. Wait, hold on. Yeah. Episode 7, Marlin fishing. This is another arsenal upgrade episode. It's Ryunosuke centric. So in this episode, the Shinkengers find out that one of their one of the origamis that belong to the Shiba family, was lost in battle, is actually wandering the seas, and it's recently been found in a nearby beach. It's the Kajiki origami, which is like a light blue, like cyan colored swordfish. Ryunosuke gets sent out to find the Kajiki origami, while the other Shinkengers have to fight this ghetto shoe that's poisoning people with his toxic breath. While Ryu is trying to catch the origami, he runs into this fisherman And when he briefly gets knocked out and he's talking with the fisherman, he speaks with him a little bit, and the fisherman reveals that he had a friend that died while he was as a samurai, and he starts to question Ryunosuke why he fights as a samurai, and when Ryunosuke is just doubling down on this whole idea that he needs to fight as a samurai, the fisherman says, rather angrily actually, that, and this is a really big deal, and I'm going to go into a lot of detail with this when I'm done recapping this whole thing, but he brings up the fact that this samurai lifestyle has basically been forced onto the Shinkengers by their parents, which is true for the record, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later in a second. Ryunosuke starts to question, since this is bringing his whole life into life view into question. But then when Takeru gets poisoned by the Ghetto Shoe, and they voices his confidence in Ryu just insists that he doesn't fight because he was forced to, but because he has faith in Takeru and he wants to, and he's making his decision, and then he's able to catch the Kajiki origami and connect it to a new secret disc, and they use the origami's healing power to heal the people who were poisoned. And for the record, when they're battling the Ghetto Shoe, we see this mysterious figure who's like this white and red skeletal looking person watching the battle. We don't know his name. And we see him at the end of the episode briefly as he walks off. We're going to learn more about this character in the next episode. Spoiler alert. They defeat the Ghetto Shoe with the Gajiki origami, which can combine with Shinkeno to form Gajiki Shinkeno. Much like the Kabuto, it becomes a helmet. And although this one is actually kind of silly because it allows Shinkeno to put its katana on its head and swing it around, which, yeah, that's really silly. Not gonna lie, that's probably the one mecha formation I don't like in Shinkenger. But when the episode ends, we actually find out that the fisherman that Ryunosuke met was actually one of the Kuroki. And I need to explain this briefly. So the Shinkengers have a group of people. They're servants, like a big support group of people who, help the Shinkengers. They cook their food at the Shiba house, and every time the Shinkengers show up to battle, they bang on these drums and raise these banners to announce the Shinkengers' appearance. They're called the Kuroki. He turns out to be one of the Kuroki, and he abandoned his duty when the previous Shinken Red died, but then he returns with G's approval, since he feels that the current Shinkengers are good samurai. So yeah, that's how this episode ends. And just to break the ice, this might be one of my top 10 favorite episodes in the whole show, because this episode perfectly shines a light on one of the problems with the Shinkenger's life, and they do it with the absolute perfect character. Because, yes, these Shinkengers, and if you want more detail on it, watch Linkara's review on Samurai, because he goes on a huge rant about this. It's true, and sure, that was for Power Rangers, but it's pretty much the same difference, and same principle applies here in Shinkenger. Yes, these people were kind of forced into the life of a samurai. They've been pretty much had this lifestyle shoved down their throats since they were kids. we literally see Kotoha in the previous episode being told that she now has to fill in for her sister when she's like what, maybe like 5 or 6 years old. I don't know. And that's messed up. It really is. And I think what makes it perfect is that they do it with Ryunosuke because, as we pointed out, Ryunosuke is the one that takes it the most seriously. Like, he eats and sleeps this samurai lifestyle. Like, you would think that he loves it. But here he is being told that he's he's had this whole lifestyle forced down his throat. And yeah, that's messed up. And that's why I still love this episode today. I think it perfectly shines a light on just like the legitimate problems with Shinkenger, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Like,
it's a thing that, like, I guess it's like a jab at tradition in modern day. Sometimes traditions become archaic because back then, when the Shinkengers supposedly started, civilization was very simple, I guess is the way to put it, where there really wasn't much
yeah,
to do than like farming. But now society has hundreds and hundreds of different paths you can take, and still having to abide by this dedicating your life to the cause thing. It is very intrusive and kind of um unnecessary. I guess the idea of them being forced to live at the Shiba house is asking a bit much of these guys, given modern society. And it's because I've seen this kind of complaint used with like real life stuff. Just traditions that started centuries ago still being upheld now, and they don't really work in the modern times, but they still do it anyway for the sake of tradition. So it's a nice little, like, kind of, how do I put this, meta jab at some real life um, cultural traditions. So it's an interesting episode in that regard.
Riz, Anthony, do you want to add anything?
You go ahead first, Riz.
There's the mute button. All right. So
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. This is the point where I will say Ryunosuke has gone from being an insufferable, annoying character to being somebody I can respect. Mind you, I still don't like his um overt feelings of oh my god, the Lord, and oh my god, my duty. But I definitely emphasize him a lot right now in this episode. So I am really enjoying the character development here. He's turning into a half decent character, and I'm hoping it'll continue becoming a great character, which is, something I'm hoping to see in all the characters going forward.
Mhm.
Um, but I gotta say, I'm loving the format of the episode so far because we're getting a lot of character development out of most characters, and the development's been organic. It's not forced. It's not bad pacing,
Yeah,
and we're picking up little things here and there that really kind of help seal the deal on who these people are that we're watching.
yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about. What, like 2 or so episodes ago with the Ryosuke Mako episode that we said really didn't have a purpose. Every
Yeah,
filler episode tends to have something to take away from it, and you're
and
starting to
that's
catch on that.
well, no, I knew this from watching the first 10 episodes that at
Yeah,
a certain point
yeah,
he'd be great. I just had to play the part of what I thought of as different parts earlier on
Mhm.
to give the perspective. Um, Because yeah, when Ryunosuke first came out, I was like, God, this guy, can he stop? Can we just not have him? Because this is Samurai again. I can't handle this. Why am I watching? I almost wanted to quit on like episode 2. I was like, this is too much bullshit for me. Between Tucker and between this guy, I was like, dude, this is. I don't know why others think this is the best
Yeah.
hentai ever. I don't see it.
Yeah, well, yeah. Trust me, Ryunosuke never gets as bad as he does when he's under the fountain, begging to be forgiven. That we got at the end of what was it, episode 2?
That was fantastic.
He never gets that extreme ever again. So,
Good, because that was fantastic cringeworthiness right there.
Oh, it was comical, but yeah, he never gets that bad again.
Yeah. But no, I'm glad it's turning around because at this point, it's around this point, I think when I was watching, that I went from I'm only watching this because Nate and Anthony told me to watch it to okay, I'm starting to kind of like what's going on here. I can go on with this now. Because I'll be honest, guys, up until like this point, I really was like, I don't understand you guys. Why is it so great? Why do y'all like this? This is hard garbage. But you know, it's at this point where I can say, okay, it's not hot garbage, but Takeru is hot garbage. There's a difference, and that's where I'm at right now on the meter. So,
What about you, Anthony? Got anything to add?
Well, for me, I definitely like this episode too. It's one of my favorites. Good development for Ryunosuke, a good development for the fisherman who was the Kuroko. And I ain't gonna lie to y'all. The monster of the day was very like interesting to me because like he was a very slow moving, slow talking monster. So like when the Sheikah just try to fight him, he's very like unpredictably slow. So like they're expecting to fight somebody who's gonna be fast, and like he's just dodging them because they don't expect somebody like him.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, I like the episode.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it's a top 10 episode for me just because it addresses a really major issue with not with Shinkenger the series, more like the lifestyle of the Shinkengers. So
yeah. That's why you don't see samurai clans in real life anymore, because it's archaic. Just imagine if real life Japan had that kind of thing still going on.
Mm-hmm. The only other thing I'm going to say is that Power Ranger Samurai botched this episode because, like, Kevin just meets a fisherman that just absolutely does nothing. Like, God, that was terrible.
Wait, are you serious?
Wait, what?
Wait, are you serious? How does this episode go in Power Rangers?
He just meets a fisherman that just asks him why he does it, and then just tells him just to quit, and you don't even know, like, and he has no connection because remember, there's no Kuroki in Samurai, so like, it's just really clumsy.
Yeah, that sums up Samurai in a nutshell. We tried to make this a one-to-one adaptation, but we didn't want to keep a lot of the Japanese culture stuff in it.
Yeah.
Which leaves a lot of stuff out, because this season is heavily rooted in ancient Japanese culture. So
there's kanji symbols on the helmets, for crying out loud.
But we never.
You want to know what the sad part about like the samurai portion of they could have easily have fixed it by just having one particular character added to that episode, and we all know who I'm talking about. But I feel like it'd be kind of like a I mean, everyone pretty much have already seen Samurai, but like how do I say that? I'll just say his name. But I won't say who he is. I'll just say his name. Antonio. That is all.
That could have been an interesting change in Samurai.
Because it would have
I
made
guess.
sense.
Yeah.
And we would have known who he was earlier on instead of just like, oh well, this just. I wonder who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
At least when I watched Shinkenger, I mean when I watched Shinkenger, I knew who the character was when he eventually shows up. But like I felt like that would have been a good like, oh snap, I remember that guy from the couple episodes ago helping what's his name? That would have been perfect. But nah, they were just
Yeah.
like, we'll just hire some random white dude just to do it. Like, okay.
Yeah. Hiring some random white dude. That sums up Samurai's casting choice in a nutshell.
Yes.
I mean, I barely remember half the people's names in Samurai. In fact, until
I
Patrick
help.
said,
I'm surprised
until
you don't because they say their names in the intro every freaking time.
God,
okay,
you reminded me of that. I'm getting PTSD.
okay, hang
Ugh.
on, Patrick. Do you remember back when we were making those stupid memes of Megaforce?
Oh, the Let It Go edit or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, do you remember the edit you made me do of the Legendary War?
Um, faintly.
I don't
I need
recall.
to see the
Okay,
picture again.
it wasn't a photo; it was a video clip. So
Okay.
it was the Megaforce Rangers in the beginning saying, "Troy,
Yeah, their
see
names.
ya."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then at the end we have Leo say, "Nice names."
Oh yeah.
I
Of
remember
course,
now.
we remember that.
Yes. I do remember
That was
this
a clip
now.
I made.
We had some interesting
Good times.
edits
Good
back then,
times.
didn't we?
We were wild, man.
Yeah.
No, like me
Boy.
and Patrick spent hours on calls after our videos were done.
Just making these eldritch abominations of edits for the videos.
And I don't even know why I did them. They're just funny.
Because Megaforce couldn't have been taken seriously, so we didn't take it seriously.
Right.
Yeah, pretty much.
Megaforce sucks, by the way. PSA.
Yeah.
Nice names. I love making that clip, man. That was a great highlight for me. Oh, I found a clip, by the way.
Oh, yeah, put it in the chat. I'll look at it
Oh my
after we're done.
god. We have 1.1 thousand views on this thing. What is wrong with you
Successful.
people?
Oh my god, we have an audience. Why do we have an
Right.
audience?
Who who authorized this?
Who watches our
You
crap?
guys did.
Yeah,
Well, I should be
did.
arrested for that.
Patrick, we've committed too many war crimes.
God damn, I knew it was going to happen eventually.
Yeah. Well,
Alright.
I posted the link in our Discord, so if anyone wants to go see it, join our Discord and check it out.
Please don't. Okay. So, which one are we up
The
to?
next episode. The brides are
Hey,
spirited away.
God dang it,
Oh,
you're taking my thunder every time.
right,
Sorry.
the introduction of one of my favorite characters in the series, too.
Yeah. Okay, so because I want to say it, this is Act 8, The Brides Are Spirited Away, which has no relevance to the animated movie Spirited Away from Hayao Miyazaki. Just
That would
throwing it
have been
out right
funny,
here.
funny if it did, though.
It would be, but it doesn't. Okay, so we have another completely filler episode. But we get the this is mainly a Mako-centric episode, and we get the debut of Zuzu Fua. So the episode opens with Z and the Shinkengers trying to set up a fake wedding for Takaru and Mako. And dude, when I saw that opening scene, me being the big Takaru hater I am right now, was like, God, Mako, what life choices have you made between this episode and the last one to make you even consider this? Cause, god dang, you can do way better than him. Way better. But luckily, it turns out they're not actually getting married. They're trying to bait a Zedusu into coming to their wedding because lately the Zedusu have been kidnapping brides at the weddings to make the grooms feel sad and despair, and also make the brides feel scared and despair because they're captured by these weird looking monsters and stuff. But the plan fails because the Zedusu go to a different wedding and not the wedding that they created for them to go to. God, don't you love when a plan gets spoiled? I hate it, man. But it is what it is. Takaru's planning is just crap. So, carrying on. Yes, I blame Takaru because he is the leader here. Also, that was a low blow. I'm sorry, Takaru, for that one. So it turns out when we sift over to the river that they can use the tears of the brides to create a uchikake, which is a special wedding kimono for Dayu. And while going over the plan, Sitari mentions a stray Zedusu, and the stray is a mysterious figure from the previous episode who talks about his desire to find somebody worthy of fighting him, which I believe in. What was his name in English? I forget. It's Zenzaku?
Who's?
The one who wants to fight like his worthy opponent or whatever.
Decker.
Oh, Decker.
There
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah.
Played by
Decker was his-
Rico. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know where I got that from. Anyway. Wait, was Zanaku from Wild Force?
Yes.
Okay. So I used the Wild Force thing because I was thinking of Cole, who is also Decker here. Yeah, okay. My
Yeah.
brain's a weird place when you unwrap it all. I'm trying. But there's 28 seasons of Power Rangers and I can't keep it all straight anymore. Okay. So he feels that someone on the Shinkenger team might be the one that's worthy to fight him. Meanwhile, the Shinkengers once again create another fake wedding because, why not try it a second time to do the same thing? Except this time, Mako is actually captured because they do come to her wedding. Because we find out in the prelude to this that all the other weddings were kind of canceled because they heard about what's going on. They're like, no, we're okay. We don't need to get married today. It's fine. We'll wait. Y'all take care of the monster. And so literally, this is the only wedding I think that even happened that day. So of course they go after Mako, not really realizing they're walking into a trap. But it turns out Daiyu suspected the Shinkengers might actually do this, and they still captured a real bride who had been hidden away in a back room, and Mako was recognized by them. So whenever they get Mako to the cave and they reveal that the real bride's already there, they force Mako to lure the other Shinkengers into hiding to the fake hiding place, where they had the warehouse rigged with bombs. But it's also further revealed that they big brained here, and Mako was a decoy, and Rio was actually posing as the real bride. Which I have questions about how they did not notice that the bride was that butt ugly at the point. Because really, um,
I foresaw your
so
counterattack and counterattack with my own counterattack.
yeah, that was a very convoluted move they made here. It took me a few minutes to trace out what actually happened. To be quite honest, I might have been also watching this at like 3 o'clock in the morning at that point.
that would help make things a little bit more complicated.
Yeah, dude. So I started watching this like the Friday before our original date for reviewing this,
Oh yeah.
and yeah, I just kept going because I couldn't stop because I was getting more and more interested in the characters not named
Mm.
Takaru. Um, so Ryu posing as the bride allowed the others to find him, and they were able to create the Shinkenger doubles to go to the fake location, and they used the doubles to free everyone. And then they battle Dayu. But during the battle, the mysterious figure, Juzo, comes out, saves the Dayu before the Sinkers can finish her, and Juzo tells Takaru that his sword seems to be calling to him. And before the Sinkers can chase, Juzo summons a giant Nanasi to distract them, and the Sinkers have to go fight them using Kabuto and Kajiki Sinken O. And the episode ends with Mako feeling kind of concerned that she already wore a wedding dress twice, and therefore her luck to find a suitable life partner has gone out the window and she can't live that dream anymore. And that makes her sad, which I feel bad for her, and she must also be protected. Um, but Kota tells her it'll be fine, these weren't real weddings, so you'll be okay. And Takaru is wondering who was this Zuzo guy and what was he doing and all, like, what the hell is he up to here? Um, and then they all go get cake.
Okay.
End episode. So I'll go real quick here. I enjoyed the filler here. I emphasized with Mako for how she feels about the marriage thing because that's rough to be like constantly reminded in this episode of what she can't have and what she gave up to be there, and that's a big deal, for her to be made that vulnerable to do it. Um, I also just like the comedy of the entire haha, well, this is my real plan. And they're like, haha, well, this is our real plan. And there's like, ha ha ha, we've outmaneuvered you once again. It was a nice little back and forth thing. But any thoughts from y'all?
Yeah. The one thing that these first 10 episodes do a pretty good job of is going over what each of them was hoping for that they kind of have to put on pause because of being forced into this. And Mako's, she's probably the most simple of all of them because she just wants to be a housewife. And superstition is superstition. Some people take it seriously, some people don't, but she seems to take it really seriously. And this whole being her to put on a wedding dress thing is actually has a pretty big impact on her. But there's really not much more to it. It's this episode is mostly comedy based, like what you were saying with the whole switcheroo stuff. But yeah, it's nice to get a little bit more insight into Mako now.
Nathan, Anthony?
Yeah, I don't have much to say. It's pretty solid Mako episode. I probably say that this as far if we want to look at it from like a character perspective, this one might actually be one of the weaker ones because like with the other episodes pretty well established who the Shinkengers are and given more on their backstory. This probably could have been a better opportunity for us to look more into like Mako's past and everything, but I mean it gets the job done, and Juzo Fuwa was pretty cool in his debut, so I can't really complain that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To me, I don't think this really counts as filler. To be honest with you, this I don't know, like, but it feels like it feels like it was needed for this story so that Takuru could encounter Juzo for the first time, and we're like, okay, this is like he sees something in him. That he's like, okay, well, I kind of want to fight you, so like, we'll have a match someday, but I need to see more of you to see if you're worthy to fight me. But overall, I did like the fact that like they outsmarted Dayu into thinking that, oh well, I knew you were Shikipik all along, and I'm gonna get you guys to set a trap so you can kill all your friends and like, and it was like, nah, we got all that. We thought of that. We thought ahead. So
Joke's on you. I'm a boy.
right.
Yeah.
To go to that's the whole movie.
Basically.
I mean, I'm not hearing to lie here yet, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we got 2 more episodes. Act 9, The Tiger's Rebellion.
Yes.
We're gonna. The floor is yours, Patrick.
Yes. Another introduction of another mecha in this episode. So it starts off back at the Shiba house. Takuru and Ryosuke are sparring against one another, and everybody else, including G, kind of recognizes that via technique, Ryosuke might actually be better at the swordsmanship than Takuru is. But Takuru is probably still better because he has more battlefield experience. And it's something that they do talk about pretty extensively. Going back to the Sanzu River, Juzo is on the ship. This is one of the few times Juzo is actually in the Sanju River, because he doesn't normally go back there because he wants next to nothing to do with the Doshu and their plan. And he's literally down there just talk to Dokuku, asking if getting involved in trying to fight Shinken Red will get in the way of his plans. And when Dokuku says he doesn't really care, Judo's like, okay, bye.
Basically,
it's kind of
like, look, man, I don't want to mess your plans up. I just want to fight this guy.
Would stabbing this guy be of inconvenience to you? No. Okay, cool, I'm gonna go stab this guy. It's also kind of loosely implied that Dokuku and Juzo don't particularly care for one another, which sucks too because you don't see them interact much more often than this. Because Juzo is getting ahead of himself here. He's a bit of a wild card and all in this entire story. So the monster of the day comes out of the river during Juzo's departure and admits that he managed to find the Tora's order, the Tora origami, or the tiger origami. During the old war, which shielded Dokuku away, the Tora origami was lost in between the crevices of the human world and the Zanzu River. And he managed to find it and used his powers to brainwash it to make it a servant to him. So when he attacks and shows off the Tora origami to the Shinkengers, he fires one of his mind control blasts at Chake, but Ryosuke jumps in the way and takes it. He is now mind controlled and fights off the other Shinkengers they can't really handle him too well because they established earlier that Ryosuke is probably the most skilled of the five, so it shows. When when he returns later in the episode, he brings Ryosuke with him, and Takaru has a plan. He wants to fight Ryosuke by himself. This makes the other three extremely nervous because they're afraid that because Takaru is more battle-hardened, and this is an actual fight, that he might actively hurt Ryosuke to the point of what's the word I'm looking for? Unable to resume his Shinkenger
Fatality.
roles. Well, maybe not that far, but yeah, you kind of get the idea. Don't want to Kano him. So they start fighting, and good boy Juzo, who just showed up after wandering through the forest. And before this, there was a scene of him talking about his sword, I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, Usamasa. And oh boy, the backstory on this weapon, when we get to it, is going to be a discussion in of itself. Let me just tell you.
Yeah, but the sword's called Uramasa.
Uramasa. Yeah, Uramasa. Thank you. But yeah, this I can't wait until we get to the episode where the sword's backstory comes up. That's going to be a fun conversation. He shows up in his human form because he can kind of switch between a human form and a Gadoshi form. He's observing the fight with the other Shinkenger, kind of talking about Taku and Ryosuke's battle, saying that Takaru has more experienced technique and manages to counterattack Ryosuke with a disc that puts what it says in the subtitles anyway, a resist spell on him, which breaks the spell, freeing Ryosuke from the hypnosis. So, Monster, the weak boy over here, summons the Tora Origami again. Takaru jumps in the Shishi Origami to go after it to try to cure it, while the others handle the monster of the week. Takaru manages to free the Tora Origami, and they manage to take out the first life of the weekly monster. When he grows from a second life, they summon the new Tora Shinkano, which gives him drills. Kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie, drills always make for a cool weapon. And they kill him. The end of the episode is probably the most significant part of this episode. Ryosuke apologizes to Takaru for attacking him. While he's down there on his knees apologizing, Takaru turns to him and says, I could have there was enough Moji Kara in that spell I put into to possibly kill you. And I love how he words this sentence. I made a gamble with your life, and I'm sorry about that. And it shows a zoom in on the other four, kind of in awe over Takaru showing some humility and care for the others. And he asked to never talk about this again because he probably didn't want G to get on his case for fighting one of his allies, or he didn't want to acknowledge having to fight one of his allies again. But it's the first true sign of Takaru showing any sort of care for any of the others. And again, baby steps. I think, so we're open for discussion now. You guys can unmute your mics. I think the ending of this episode is probably the most important part of it, and it's gonna be where most of the discussion is gonna lay, because like Riz has been complaining about this whole time, Takaru hasn't really shown much humility up to this point, and this is the first time where he does it. And because it was kind of quite a difficult situation for him to be in. Even though he doesn't show humility up to this point, he clearly has some care and well-being for these guys. This is the first time where he actively acknowledges it, and that's a step in the right direction for him. So, I know you want to say something, Riz.
I've been holding back, waiting for you to finish talking.
Go for it.
I'm gonna start off by saying it's about time that he does something other than being a dick. Cause yeah. So I'm glad to see he finally has some humility. When I was watching the fight before we got to the end, I was mentally screaming at him like, "You idiot! You have learned nothing about caring for your team. You gotta find a different way to handle this. Why are you doing this?" And like, while he gambled with his life, and that in itself is a whole discussion right there.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, what happens if he gambled incorrectly? I mean, what happens if
Mhm.
that was it? You know, like he took the gamble, and there's a lot of things to say here, but the biggest one is he made a call as team lead of, what's best for the team and how can we best handle the situation. And he couldn't exactly stop and be like, hey, what do I do here? Because there wasn't much time to really think about it.
Mhm.
He just had to act on gut instinct. And in this instance, I think he probably made the right call here, honestly. Like, I can't fault him for what he did. He gambled, it worked out. If it hadn't worked out, well, that sucks, and I'd have a very different take right now, but
Mhm.
it worked out. He gambled correctly, meaning he has some semblance of
Oh.
being a good team lead, and he has some care because at the end he did apologize.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say that this absolves him of all the things that I've complained about so far, but it's a pebble in the right direction.
Well, just like with every other character, it's very small step by small step, and
Yeah,
it starts ramping up as you go. But yeah, I
yeah.
think, and
And see, and this
I
is a
like,
turning point for him to me.
yeah, yeah.
Go ahead.
I like how you worded that it was a very uh, short, kind of harsh decision making because he didn't really have time to sit down and plan out anything greater. And that sparring segment they had at the beginning of the episode where Takaru kind of showed that he has the upper hand on Ryosuke probably felt like that. If it came down to a one-on-one battle, he trusted his own skills to be able to get in one clean shot to save him. And you're right. It was an on-the-fly decision, but it wasn't a stupid decision either.
No, he had reasons to
Yeah,
think it would be
yeah,
fine
yeah.
because
It's
in my mind, the way I kind of imagine this in the back end is I have this imagination that's completely my own fanon
mhm,
that he and Z sit down and talk about everything before they do it. And he probably sat down with Z at some point and they discussed that sparring match and or maybe in a previous, because you have to imagine they spar every day. So at some point
mhm,
they've had to talk about, who has what abilities in battle. So Tucker probably knew something about like, okay, I kind of have the inkling of what I can do against my opponent if this ever happens in the future, or if I were to fight him for real.
mhm,
So he wasn't just being a complete dick. He actually put
yeah,
some thought into this, I think.
mhm.
I have to imagine anyway, because I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt here. Because he's still hot garbage, but he's less hot garbage by a little bit, by one pebble. I'll give him one pebble less in the garbage bag.
Hey, hey, he's easing up on him, guys. We're making progress.
Right, like
Yeah.
I took away one pebble. This is not a victory for y'all
Yes,
yet.
yes, yes, but that's one less pebble. Okay.
hmm.
He can get the pebble back. Don't worry. It's still possible. We're still really early on.
Yes, we are.
So, but yeah, I like this episode because again,
I did too.
I love Ryu as a character right now. Like annoying as he was in the beginning, he's kind of growing on me, man.
I know he comes off as the how I like to describe Ryosuke in the early part of the season, because there's characters from other series that kind of fill this whole idea of you imagine being in this position, and it's like a wild fantasy idea, and then when you actually get into it, you realize that it's not all rainbows and sunshines, and
Yeah.
Ryosuke kind of having the reality of it all kind of hit him in the face, and he's kind of toning it back and not being some over exaggerated glory boy, and he's being more, I guess, realistic about everything. It's a nice arc for him. It's a small arc that happens very, very early in the season, but it is nice to see the impacts of everything just hitting somebody real early.
Yeah. Nathan, Anthony, it's safe to talk now.
You two can go now.
Okay, we were just making sure. So
I didn't really have
this
much
was
to say.
this
Go
was a
ahead.
very interesting episode because you have, you know, it's not like they set this episode up from the beginning because you have Takaru and you have Ryunosuke training with each other with their swords and whatnot, and people are gonna be thinking like, oh, or like I wonder how they would feel if they actually fought for real, and then lo and behold, it actually happens. And like this particular Ayakashi was actually very interesting as well because like he basically was able to take control of one of the like origami mechas, and it's like wow, like this dude, like you know, pretty much if he wasn't just like the standard like run of the mill Ayakashi of the week, he could easily have been like one of the strongest villains this far, and I mean Gedoshu they fought this far if he was handled better.
Yeah. The Toro origami is also pretty cool. Like Patrick said, drills are always cool. Um, I don't have much else to say. I think you guys pretty much perfectly summed up how good this episode is.
Yeah. I do want to make note of the Tor. The Tor origami on its own is probably one of the goofiest looking tiger mechas in the series. 4 drills and a
Yeah,
wheelbot.
with the
What?
drills on his arm.
He's so goofy looking. But he makes probably one of the coolest Shinkano editions. So
Yeah.
I'll take it. I'll take it.
All right, Anthony, you're gonna wrap us up with Act 10. So go ahead, take it away.
All right, with this episode, it's the conclusion. Let me go look at the name of the episode.
The Great Sky
Alright.
combination is what it's called.
Okay, the Great Side Combination. Thank you, Nate. Basically, in this episode, Takaru tells the others that basically since we have all like 3 of the origami combination mechas, we can finally combine all 3 of them to make Daitengu, and it requires 3 pilots to pilot it so they can use it. Of course, Takaru says he's going to use Toro origami, while Ryunosuke uses Kajiki origami. And of course, freaking Chiaki wanted to be the one to use the Kabuto origami because he's like, pick me. But Takaru and G end up picking Mako to use it, and you just got to feel for Chiaki in this one because he really was like, he's like, oh, like I really wanted to be me because he feel like he really wanted to like earn it, and so he put all of his training. He just basically starts like training to the point where he doesn't even eat any food because he's so focused on training. Because they basically have to be like all in sync with the same level of Mochikara basically. He wanted to be on equal level with Rinosuke and Takuru because he's kind of still lacking, and Mako's kind of like the third strongest if you think about it. Basically, in this Attack of the Aikashi, this monster basically has the ability to make you fall into a deep depression with raindrops. And slight trigger warning, I just want this could be qualified as an episode that involves the S word, if we can say that. Can we say that? Or no?
What?
Because it's like a heavy topic, so
Probably not a good word to say.
right, okay. That's why I had to stop myself from saying it. But yeah, like deep depression. So this Akashi in particular can fly too by using his head as an umbrella to basically fly around and attack the Shinkengers or whatnot. Like they were about to start using their origami disc. Mako was about to use her top of disc, but she ends up getting attacked by the monster and drops it. Shaki grabs it, and Mako's like, "Hey, like thanks for catching it. Now hand it here." And Jackie's like, "Nope," and just puts it on his wood spear, and it doesn't work at all. Like no matter what he's doing, it's just not working at all. And um, Rinosuke's firing his arrows, and like the monster is getting away. And boy, G is pissed. He is like, that was really stupid of you to do that. You know that wasn't your disc. That was Mako's disc. You know, basically getting mad to the point where he takes his Shoto phone for disobeying, the disobeying saying he's not ready to be a samurai if he's making those decisions. And it gets to the point where Shaki gets so pissed. He uses his shoulder phone in his brush mode and like starts painting X's and like circles all around everybody. He he even gets Ryunosuke and Mako and Kotoha. It's so funny.
Chiaki.
Yeah. Gotta love that Chiaki. Who else but Chiaki?
That's great.
Yeah. But he basically realized that he went about training Shaki the wrong way. G kind of like lightens up because he talks to Takaru. He's telling like this is the one thing I actually like about Takaru is that like Takaru actually kind of defends Chiaki in a way. He's basically telling him like, hey, I mean like your method of training doesn't work if you're training him like you trained me. He's not me. He's somebody else completely different. He's not type of person who will like take the discipline but you get to him well, like I have, because I was living with you since day one, so I'm good with that. But he is a whole different person. And so G ends up finding Chiaki after he leaves the arcade, and he ends up riding his motorcycle and tells him, "Hey, get on." They go to a forest, and he teaches Chiaki like, "So what do you see?" And he's like, "I see the forest." He's like, "Yeah, but like you need to find your source of power, which is you know well, the force is your power. So like you need to use the Mojikara to how you want to use it because this is your power. Like you should be able to use it however you see fit." And he actually ends up actually apologizing to Chiaki for what he said earlier. And of course Chiaki's like, "Wow, you actually said sorry. Like that was an apology." And Chiaki apologized to him as well. And while they're talking, the Aikashi that attacked them earlier comes back, fights the four Shikingers without Chiaki. Chiaki shows up to help, he pulls off this really, really cool move using his Mojikara and was able to destroy the monster in its first form. Um, it grows to its giant form. They form a Shikino, but aren't able to reach him because he's using his ability to fly, and um, because of what happened with how well he did against the Akashi the first time, Mako allows him to allows Shaki to use the Kappa disc, and they all three, him, Takaru, and Ryunosuke, form Daitengu with all three of their origami mechs, separate mechs, and it's pretty cool. It's like a winged beast. It's flying all around the place, and it was able to actually destroy the monster with just it's just that foam alone. And so let's see. As the episode ends, Chiaki reveals that he painted signs on G's face again as a prank when he was asleep, much to him getting angry, and that's how the episode ends.
Yeah, pretty. So far, every Chiaki episode we've had is a pretty good one. I would. I don't think there's much else more to say. I think it's.
Yeah.
I think this is a good episode that establishes that Chiaki wants to become stronger, and you can he feels a little insecure about himself early on, and I think we're seeing a lot of character growth with him. I would probably say that of the 10 episodes, because we've now taken a look at all 10 episodes, he probably feels the one that's growing the most so far. So this was definitely a good episode for him.
No, it helps when he was the one that had the most growing to do. Well, outside of Takaru, of course, but
That's a lie.
Out of the four that came in, I mean, he's. But I've always remembered this episode because of the scene of the two in the forest. I just love how G kind of explains this. This is your element right here. Feel it, understand it, and learn its power. Because he is the samurai of wood, and just telling him to be around his element and understand its abilities to try to find his way in his own style. It's such a simple moment, but it works so well because he took up what Takaru said, that everybody learns differently. And someone who has a psychology background, yes, everybody learns differently. And Takaru knew that the way that he taught Takaru was not going to apply to everybody else, so he needed to take a different approach with Shake, and look at that, it worked. And it was a developmental moment for G also. I don't think anybody was really going to talk about that, but G actually had a character moment himself here. He doesn't get many of those throughout the season either. So it's nice to see that for him. Riz, Nathan?
Yeah, it's pretty cool that he rides a motorcycle too. That's pretty awesome.
No, you wouldn't expect
Yeah.
him to be a biker, but he is. It's kind of sick.
Anything else to add, Riz?
I liked episode 10 a lot. Chiaki has really grown a lot. I think Chiaki is probably my favorite of the 5 so far.
Mine too.
Well, that kind of allows us to segue into just since we've talking about all the episodes, we're gonna just go over briefly our early thoughts on Shinkenger, just to kind of close this out. I guess we could talk about the characters first. You guys say that Chiaki is your favorite, but let's go over these characters one by one, just the Shinkengers. So we already, I think we'll start with Takeru. So Riz, you want to say anything else, or do you feel like you've already addressed all the beef that you have with Takeru?
I will say 2 words and I'll pass it off to Patrick. Hot garbage.
Oh boy!
Okay.
Seriously, I'm being serious when I say this though. I'm actually enjoying hearing Riz's perspective from somebody who hasn't actually seen the series in its entirety yet. And it'll be kind of cool to see how his opinions change as we go along. But early in the season, Takeru is by far the most troubled of the 5 because he is so hard in his shell and he will not open up and he doesn't want to show any signs of humility to anybody. But so a couple little chinks in the armor at the end of the 10 episodes we covered. But I feel like most of that was because they were trying to establish the impacts of being a Shinkenger to the other 4. I feel like that's where most of this was, and Takeru will get his time to shine later. But as he is pain. to put it lightly. So I'll pass the torch on to somebody else.
I'll add on real quick that while Takeru is hot garbage, he's still eons better than Ninja Red.
Oh, 100%.
I've only
I
seen
said something nice about him.
I've only seen 5 episodes of Ninja, and I don't like Aka Ninja either.
Wait. You didn't see the lawnmower episode?
No, when it was airing, I stopped at episode 6 because I didn't like anything about it.
I mean, we tried watching it on here, and we couldn't go beyond like that. That was the episode that killed all of us, I think.
I mean, from what I've heard of Ninja, no one likes it, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. I still like Takeru for now. I think he has a lot of. It's hard for me to really go into depth with my opinion on him. Like Riz, Patrick and Anthony, I've seen Shinkenger all the way through already, so I kind of know what's all that's going to happen. But yeah, I can understand Riz's perspective that he kind of comes off as kind of a jerk or hot garbage, which seems to be the trendy word that we're using in this video.
Thank you.
Yeah, not much else to say there. But Anthony,
pretty much overall, like as someone who's I've already watched pretty much Shigenger's like all the way from like the longest time. It's just I never get tired of it. I never get tired of watching the show. Like I watch it as if I didn't miss anything. Like I remember this and this and that and the other.
So for Ryunosuke, the funny thing is that going into this series, Ryunosuke was actually my favorite. And even though we're only 10 episodes into this rewatch, that opinion is actually changing for me. I don't hate Ryunosuke, but I can understand how. The funny thing is that a couple of months ago, I did a tier listing of Sentai Rangers, so I did it for Blue, and I posted it on Reddit, and I got into this, not necessarily heated, but kind of a, discussion about because this guy did not like Ryunosuke, and I just kind of, I accepted his opinion. Like, we didn't say anything nasty to each other or anything, but I did kind of roll my eyes at some of the stuff that he said secretly because I just thought that maybe he was looking at Ryunosuke, um, in a really bad light. But I can understand how people will find him annoying early on because he does go a little too over the top. I mean,
Oh,
stripping down, like, standing in a fountain
yeah.
half naked. Like, I can understand that. Now, he's not bad. I mean, if you want to see him at his worst, just watch Samurai, where Kevin,
Yeah.
Kevin is Ryunosuke at his worst.
Mhm.
I still like him. I'd still put him in my top 5 blue. And like I said, I mean, the 7th episode revolving around him is like one of the best episodes of the series. But yeah. Now I'll get to who's my favorite in a little bit. But yeah, even though I still like him, he's probably no longer my favorite Shinkenger because there were a couple of things about him that I might have liked back then, but kind of watching it all these years later is a little older. I can see why people would have issues with him.
Mind humor me for a second. Who do you have as your favorite blue?
Um, well, none of you guys will probably understand this yet, since none of you have seen this Sentai yet. But that would be Time Blue from Time Ranger.
I'm blue. Okay, well, I'll look forward to it when I eventually start
I've seen
watching.
Time Ranger.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Time Blue is the best
I
in my
was.
opinion.
I honestly thought you were going to say Goki because Ginga Blue was a very, very good character.
Ginga Blue's in my top 5.
Oh yeah,
So
Goki was a fun character. But
yeah.
going back to Ryo, yeah, he starts off. He starts off as the joke character. I don't think anybody's gonna deny that. But I love how they really quickly tone him down because if this kind of over the topness lasted like 15 plus episodes, he would have been probably the worst character in this cast. But they do a really good job of toning him down really quickly and kind of establishing him as the confident, loyal one instead of the crazed, fanatic, loyal one. And I think that decision of toning him down early was the best possible decision they could have made for him. Because could you imagine if he was like that for a quarter of the season? I don't think anybody would like him too much after that.
He would have become hot garbage too.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
It was good as an introduction, but if it went on longer than that, no. Got anything else to say, Anthony? Riz?
I'm
Nope,
good.
I'm good.
All right.
Well, in
So
that
that
case, we're gonna move on to Mako. She's probably the weakest of these 5. Not gonna lie. Even the one episode that we have revolving around her doesn't really add much to her character. All we know is that she's just kind of a big sister, and she wants to like get married and raise a family. I mean, that's all fine and dandy, but yeah, she she's probably the weakest of the 5 we have so far.
yeah, I don't like getting ahead of myself either, but she kind of stays that way. She's probably the weakest developed of these characters from start to finish too, because it doesn't really expand upon her much more than this, which sucks in
But
all
just
honesty, because I genuinely like her as a character though, because she's so calm and mother figures are always hard to hate. At least for me anyway.
I mean, to add a comment real quick, I mean, I think the reasons he has the least growth in these 10 episodes is because C's the most matured of everyone here,
Mm-hmm.
and C has the least to gain from being here as a person, because C's already done her growing. C knows who C is. It just comes down to fulfilling an honor for the family.
Did you want to add something, Anthony?
Are we talking about like the
Mako.
villains?
No, Mako.
Oh, with Mako. Wait, you said Mako?
Yeah.
Okay, with Mako, I do like her character. Like she's comes off as very like a passionate person, but like she's very like no nonsense either. She's like the big sister of the group. You know, she's just like looks out for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And she does not like deal with the bullshit. You know, she's very like like straightforward. That's like about her character. Wish she could cook better though, but that's just one character flaw that she has to have because she's already better at creating everything else. So they had to have one flaw. That's one right there.
Well, aside from that, we'll move on to Chucky, who I guess seems to be Riz and Anthony's favorite. And that's acceptable. I like Chiaki. I think he really throws a wrench into the whole samurai dynamic by being someone that really doesn't care about it. So far, like we've said, he's kind of seen the most growth, but I don't think there's much else I can say about Chiaki that hasn't already been said, unless you guys want to add anything.
No, he's just the every guy. Like he wants to do things his way, but then he gets forced into doing something he doesn't want to do, i.e., public school. And you know how we all handled public school. We didn't want to be there. We didn't pay attention, all that fun stuff. So no, I can relate to his perspective. Relate to his perspective a little bit.
No, I think Chiaki is probably the best developed character thus far. And even like just his personality, who he is why I think he's one of my favorite characters to come out of Sentai so far.
Ooh.
Bold statement already. Yeah.
I enjoyed Chiaki quite a bit. I mean, I don't have a favorite member from Tokusatsu or Zyuzer or Ninja. And then from Kyuranger, sorry. Yeah, they were all good characters, but none of them really like hit me in like a personal way like how Chiaki did. So I greatly enjoyed Chiaki's character for that. He's still too the marvelous, but that's my fanboy coming out here. So, but yeah, no, Chiaki's amazing. He is nowhere near hot garbage. He must be ulcer protected.
Anything you want to add, Anthony?
Oh yeah, that basically Riz already explained it. So.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll wrap up with Kotoha and then just briefly go over everything else. Kotoha is my favorite Shinkenger now. And honestly, I forgot how amazing Kotoha was when I watched this. Because, I know in our previous video, I said Luca was my favorite Sentai Yellow. No, that's Kotoha now. And I know that we're only 10 episodes in. I don't care. I watching these first 10 episodes has reminded me of everything. And one of the things is because like in episode 6 it really kicked close to home because and when I was watching episode 6, like, you know, so to cut a really long story short, when I was watching Shinkenger for the first time, I was at a really low point in my life because you know I I've been bullied a lot, and I had been bullied a lot when I was in high school back then. And not only that, but I was going through like a really bad breakup with a girl I had been dating, and I had just been pushed to like this really bad edge of depression. And if any of my family are listening to this, I apologize for all that misery I put you through thinking. But anyway, you know,
Hi,
I
Mom.
yeah, I would frequently take I would frequently take jabs at myself. Like I would say all this really bad stuff about myself in the same way that Kotoha insults herself in that episode. And, it really, you know, and I think that, it really helped me relate to Kotoha a lot and kind of understand what she's going through and everything. So, yeah, I, especially with episode 6, like I just a lot of things that Kotoha went through really hit close to home for me, and I I don't know, she's just this sweet innocent person that doesn't deserve to go through anything that she's going through, and every episode that revolves around her, she does a good job. And even the episodes where she doesn't do much, she still has a lot of personality as just this innocent girl that just wants to be friendly with everybody. Like even the episodes where she only has like one or two lines. So yeah, I I'm actually taking away the title of my favorite Shinkenger away from Ryunosuke and giving it to Kotoha. And I'm confident that that's going to remain the case for the remainder of this series.
KSP, KSP, KSP.
It's our battle cry, dang it. Yeah, through the first 10 episodes, she's probably my favorite too, because I mean, what you were describing, your relation, your kind of sympathy for her. Yeah, I mean, my high school life was exactly the same. I mean, you don't treat yourself very well in high school when you were in the position like you and I were in. And a lot of that whole self-loathing and self-beating is 300% relatable. But but at the same time, she is the most likable character on this cast. You can't hate her. It's like every time she gets sad, you just want to bust through the butter.
And by the way, if there's anybody out there that doesn't like Kotoha, we're gonna.
I will find you. Yeah,
I have a particular set of skills, and I will find you.
Particular set of.
I'm like, what is wrong? I'd ask, what is wrong with you? Do you just hate life? Like that's what I ask. Like, do you just?
I don't know how to. It's like I don't know how to use a bow and arrow yet, but I can learn.
Absolutely. Add anything? Anybody else want to add anything?
Sorry.
Must protect at all costs.
I am good for now.
Yeah,
we'll continue discussing hot garbage next time.
Well, originally in the outline, I wanted to talk about the plot briefly, but there's not really much. It's pretty basic stuff.
It's
nothing
just
really to
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The villains, I mean, to be honest, I don't think we're really deep enough into the series to really give an overview of the villains. Because the only ones that seem to have any personality right now are Daiyu and Juzo, but we still need to see more of them. Unless you guys want to add anything, but I don't think that the villains have much personality.
The villains are pretty.
Yeah, the Okaku and the others, they do get better as we go, but here in the early parts of the season when they're just more focusing on establishing the main characters themselves. They're so whatever at this point. But about halfway into the season, the villains start becoming a little bit more engaging. So we'll get there when we get there.
Yeah,
Yep.
for right now, I will say that in the early episodes, the villains are a major fault in the series,
Mm-hmm.
and that we don't really know much about them, and that's a problem to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they need to have more personality by this point.
Well,
I don't
hopefully
think.
that'll.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I don't think many Sentais do a good job of establishing villains early. Outside of the ones that are really good at it, like Jetman per se, who I still say has the best core villain group of any Sentai I've seen up to this point.
Yep.
But it's kind of hard to top Raticate and Gray and stuff like that. But they still get good, just slow burn on them.
Well, hopefully next time the villains will start to get better in the next batch of
Yeah.
episodes.
Mm.
Because at
Also,
this point, like,
It's our hot garbage.
we pretty much don't know.
But that about wraps up what we wanted to talk about here. We'll be visiting Shinkenger again next time. More than likely, we'll be taking a look at episodes 11 through 20 for the next 10 episodes. We hope you guys will join us for that. We're also, like we keep on saying, we're going to be doing a lot of other things. We're going to be making videos talking about certain Power Ranger seasons altogether. We're probably going to be taking a look at some other non-Power Ranger Tokusatsu adaptations in the near future, like VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs. And feel free to leave any comments down below with what you'd like us to cover. If you're watching this video on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel if you're not already subscribed, and give this video a like. Check us out on animesecrets.org and all of our social media pages, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Once again, we thank you guys for joining us at the beginning of our samurai journey. Hope you guys will join us for the next part. And until next time, we're Toku Secrets, and we're going to be departing now. So see you guys next time. Bye.
This